What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into the podcast. Well, it's not a podcast, technically. It's called Vet Talk. It's the first one ever, so we'll see how it goes and how it turns out for everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. One, make sure you like and subscribe for more content. We're trying out some new stuff. Um, Again, ultimately, though, the big thing with this that I'm trying to accomplish tonight is raising awareness about veteran issues, just giving everybody a chance to kind of get out there and chat and talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. That being said, there is a huge stigma around mental health and taking care of yourself. I mean, the current stats are all over the map, but pretty much, most of us that are veterans or have something to do with veterans know that, we're at a rate of like 20 to 22 veterans a day are killing themselves, committing suicide. And so, yeah, it's a conversation that needs to be talked about. It's something we need to chat. Also, too, I think the intent of this as well is to just kind of have an opportunity. We were talking last night amongst a group of friends of mine, and there's just conversations that you don't have because you don't have anybody to talk to about it. And so, I think one of the things about this that I'm trying to accomplish is this is going to be the place where you can talk about it. So, now with that full disclaimer on all of this, now these are all thoughts and opinions. No one involved in this is a licensed therapist of any kind, so this is not something, um, where we're going to give you actual mental health advice. But what I do have is a bunch of resources and stuff involved in that, and I can talk to you about my own experiences. And if you want to share or chat or whatever we want to do with that, we can go from there. But really, again, the intent of this is it's just a chance to kind of talk about shit, raise awareness. You know, some of the struggles that you have, um, just in your everyday life, some of the journeys that you've been on. Do you currently struggle from things like post traumatic disorder or, other mental health challenges, other things like that? So I'll tell you, I do have a little background in it. I am a what we call a mental health first aid instructor. So the company I work for has sent me to training with the National Council for Behavioral Health. And so basically, I teach courses that help leaders and managers identify early at-risk people in their employer, at-risk employees, and how to better interact and manage that situation to provide the best outcomes. Because I mean, whether we like it or not, vet or not a vet, it's something that impacts us. What's up, Elephant? I hope you're having a good night, brother. I'll try not to keep you up too late because I know you got work here in a few hours. You probably need to freaking sleep. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Again, really, I think the intent of what I'm trying to accomplish here, Elephant, and you kind of help me mold this because this is, again, the first one that I'm doing. But after talking with Stacks and Squirrel last night, we had a really, really good conversation. I wish you were able to take part in it, Elephant, because it was something both the comments were made from more than one person, including myself, that it felt like a weight got lifted because the intent of what I'm trying to do here is have a conversation about things that maybe you don't talk about. And I think one thing that we talked about last night was sometimes it's hard to talk about some of this stuff because you don't have anybody. It's not that you don't have anybody that's willing to listen, it's that you don't have somebody that can understand what you're talking about. And so sometimes being around others that have been through a similar life experience, it makes that conversation easier to have because that person relates directly to it. And so, to give you guys a little background on me, so I am a United States military veteran. I was in the Army for almost 6 years. I served in a 15-month combat deployment to Iraq in 2007. Um, Saw a lot of stuff, and then I ultimately ended up getting medically discharged right as my 6th year started, and transitioned back to civilian life. And so I have gotten pretty much all the t-shirts. And so for anybody who also wants to know, I was combat infantry. So over here they call it 11 Bravo. So you are, yeah, I mean it's infantry. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Um, but it's combat. That's what you do. You don't do anything else. It's just combat. So you train, and that's what you do. So yeah, um, I have had friends and myself. I struggle a little bit, not as bad as some of my friends do. Um, I have seen my friends go through of um, a lot of stuff, man. I'll tell you, one of the things I was talking about yesterday was the whole stigma around mental health, right? So for me, and again, definitely pipe in. I'm just going to share my experience a little bit, and then we can talk about whatever. But so when we got back from Iraq, we had a lot of friends. Yeah, and that's the other thing too is that even if you're not a veteran, post traumatic stress disorder can affect everyone. Situations can affect everyone. So mental health is not just isolated to veterans. Mental health encompasses all of us. And so again, trying to raise awareness about mental health and doing things that are positive and reducing that stigma about getting help and resources. Because I can tell you from an infantry background, there's a very suck it up and deal with it later mentality, right? Like if you break your leg, you just splint it and keep going. If you have knee problems, you just wrap it up, take a whole bunch of Motrin and keep going. And so the same thing we do with mental health in a lot of ways. And so it's just like suck it up, keep going, bury it deep down, let it turn to cancer, that kind of attitude. But the problem with that is eventually it comes back. And if you haven't dealt with it or you don't haven't treated just like a broken leg, and I think that's one of the problems and the struggles that we go with the stigma is so a lot of times with mental health, you look at we look at a lot of things like a physical injury. So a physical injury, if somebody breaks their leg, right, 9 times out of 10 they're going to go to the doctor for it and be seen. Otherwise, think about what can happen to a broken leg. It can heal wrong. You could never walk right again. You could be paralyzed. A whole bunch of different awful things could happen. And so what's weird though is with mental health, it's the same. We don't treat it the same way. So we're more likely to push that kind of stuff off. And there's a lot of barriers to it. Psychologists are expensive. Medical care is expensive. There's stigma. You're seen as weak or other stuff like that. And it's all just a load of crap, honestly. But again, it's trying to raise that awareness about it because you know when I got back from Iraq, we had a lot of guys going to behavioral health appointments, and I was always told never go to mental health or behavioral health to get. Don't ever get a diagnosis because it'll follow you the rest of your career and outside the military. And so I never went, but I had a lot of friends who were really suffering and they went. And I saw them get put on things like diazepam and get turned into like drooling zombies. And like they never ever really got any help. They just got sedated. And that scared the holy living shit out of me. That combined with having that medical diagnosis of like post traumatic stress disorder or, um, stuff like that. And so it was something that I didn't do, but that left me very vulnerable to a lot of things. So when I got out, and I think that's one of the struggles. An elephant, you can definitely pipe in if you feel any of this stuff. But like one of the things I always talk about is when you get out of the military, if you've spent a day in the military, or there's a lot of jobs and stuff too, but the way you bond with the people in your unit, you are so close to them. You see them every hour, almost every waking hour of the day, right? And even the ones that irritate you, you're so used to having people around you. And when you get out of the military, all of a sudden, you are just alone, and you don't have that network that you once had prior to. And I think that's one of the things that's the most challenging piece of it is because we were talking about this last night, Squirrel and I and Stacks, was when you're in the military, if you have a problem, you can go to your team or your squad 9 times out of 10, and even in the worst problem it is, somehow they made it just feel better, right? Or they made it to where you guys got through it. But now that you're out, you don't have that network of stuff, and so it's just kind of like you're alone in a lot of ways. And so you have to work to create systems in place to be able to protect yourself and be able to help yourself. But yeah, I haven't. Yeah, homelessness too. That's another thing. Yeah, elephant. That's exactly right. And you feel like no one truly understands you. You don't want people. Yeah, like, and that's the thing. It's that you're. For me, it's kind of like you're scared to let them know, right? And one thing that somebody brought up last night was that there's three suits you wear, right? There's the suit you wear professionally, like in your workplace. There's one you wear around friends and family, and then the third suit is the raw human you, whatever's left. And my example was it's like Deadpool, right? It's just this burnt out, scarred, haunted soul, right? And you don't ever let anybody see it. But every time that you put on one of those other suits, it starts burning energy. And so, tell me if you guys feel like this ever, where you get up and you put on your like, I'm gonna go work with people suit. You go and you interact, stuff like that. By the time you get home, you are freaking exhausted of just dealing and interacting with other people. So then you get home, and then you don't have a lot of energy or the want to do a lot of other things. And so I think that's one of the things that's just frustrating. And yeah, Ivan, I can only imagine because I mean that's the other thing too is a lot of vets end up being homeless, um, and that's yeah, yes, exactly, elephant. It's a persona you put on to fake smile and to it's a protective measure almost, of like getting you put something out there that people can see, but it's not really you, and it takes energy. It saps away at you the entire time. Yeah, I saw you. Yeah, I heard. I remember that story, Ivan. I think that was the first time I ever met you that you'd mentioned you'd pulled a dude out of the freezing ice. But yeah, man, it's I don't know, and it really is a challenge in a lot of ways. Ivan, I know you'd do it again. That's the thing. That's just kind of person you are, man. But yeah, I think that's one of the challenging things is just part of having to keep up that persona, that external persona of the smile and so people won't look at you differently or judge you in a way. Um, I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with, um, in that front is just functioning on a daily basis, right? Um, yeah, yeah. I guarantee you'd do it again. You'd probably cuss your way through it, but I guarantee you'd do it again. Um, but yeah, hey, and you guys are welcome to hop in the Discord. Hang on, let me see if I've got one. We can do. Let me make one real quick. Fed talk. There we go. So yeah, if you guys just want to talk instead of typing, you're welcome to do that too. Wait a minute. Let me get out of that. Delete that. Hang on. Sorry. Well, that's the thing, is like your heart's in the right place, so that's the intent behind it. All right, let me make a that talk. There we go. I am now in the vet talk in the Grumpy Bear media thing. So if it's easier to just chat in there, you guys are welcome to too. But yeah, what do you got? I mean, what do you guys think? What do you feel like some of the challenges are in a day to day kind of thing? Like, what are some of the struggles that you deal with on a day to day basis with mental health or things like that? Do you feel like the big component is the social part, or is it, what do you guys feel like is something that is really challenging. What is up, Element?
How you doing,
Just
look?
heard you, buddy. How's your night going?
It's not going bad. Early.
Nice.
3.
Yeah, you probably need to duck out and go to bed here pretty soon. Jesus, I don't know how you
Yeah,
pull those late nights like you do.
well, I've got work in like I've literally got work in like 2 hours, so I'm not sleeping.
Better stock up on the energy drinks.
I've only got an FLT test today. It's not going to be too much.
No,
Couple hours in, I'll be home.
that'll work. That'd be nice.
That's it. That'll do.
What's up, Otterly? But yeah, man. I mean, again, the big thing with this that I'm trying to accomplish is kind of like what you've done too, is just raise awareness about mental health, some of the challenges that we deal with on a daily basis, and then kind of reducing that stigma of continuing down. Because a lot of times too, what I've noticed is a lot of people try to do the right thing. They somehow muster up enough strength to get out there, and they either start seeing someone or they get on a medication or something, and then they kind of don't have a good experience with it, and so then they either give up or they slip back into something, and that almost makes it worse than the beginning. So it's kind of a weird process on how that works. Um, so it's I don't know. It's like it's a tough situation because a lot of these conversations just don't take place, and a lot of stuff that you need or want to talk about, you just can't in a lot of ways, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It was we had a like I said we had a really good conversation last night with
Mm.
Stacks and Squirrel, and we were just talking about some of the stuff about like the socialization aspect of like how when you're in the military, you have your team or your squad or whatever your layout is, but you have people that are surrounding you at all times. So you never really have to deal with emotions too much in a sense because they're there to support you with it. But when you get
Mm.
out, that goes away. Like it's almost ripped away from you. It's like an umbilical cord. It's just ripped off you. And
Yeah.
so that was a hard thing for me, and I still struggle with it honestly, is that component
Oh
of
yeah.
not
Sure.
having that, because we were talking about like Friday and Saturday nights in the military or something when you get off, you have time off, and
Mm.
you get away for the weekend, and you would go like just hang out with the guys. You would go to the movie theater. You would just do something, and
Yeah.
weekends were just very significant and special. And I can tell you, after getting out of the military, I've never had another weekend like that since.
Oh no.
And it's a challenge. Or like making friends outside the military is hard, because
Mm.
you're just not the same. It's hard to get a lot of things in common with people in a way, because like there's certain things that you have in common, but there's certain things you just can't talk to about it, or there's always that like elephant in the room, or it's like that no pun
Ma-
intended.
Minus fun.
In this case, the elephant is perfect in the room.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like, do you
Oh
do you
yeah.
feel that same way? Do you have you kind of struggled with that yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely, like I say, coming out for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was the exact same. That was the worst thing. Like I held on to my to being in my unit as long as I could, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually it was just kind of like enough's enough, and you've got to kind of suck it up, brunt all the leave. You've got to do that because it's not going to be the same again.
Yeah.
Like I came out of medical discharge with my knee, so that screwed my job up completely. But no, yeah, I mean, especially because I went through losing a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was in charge of these guys, and it
Yeah.
was my duty. I lost these guys, and that killed me most. But knowing that I'm coming home, telling the families,
Yeah.
who I knew before we went in, and I'm here saying, I'm gonna bring you guys back, and
Yeah.
6 months later, I'm coming back telling that the son's never coming back, and it's my fault, and yeah, it kills you, like you say. Like my perspective is when I deal with it alone because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to tell a civvy, as we call it over here,
Yeah.
someone got served a civvy. I don't want to basically sit a civvy down and say to him, "Yeah, I've done this, I've done that, I've seen this, and I've seen." I don't want them to understand what I've seen
Mm-hmm.
and what I feel because that gives me nightmares on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
that was my job. Like doing what I did was my job. I had to do this, but
Hmm.
No job that you go through should ever give you daily nightmares on a daily perspective. So I'm never gonna
Yeah.
never talk to anybody about that.
Well,
Like you say, trying to find people, it's hard. Trying to find people that's been through it is hard.
yeah, it is,
Not
and
to.
that like that's I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of these conversations don't take place, and sometimes a lot of the like the self healing can't take place too because you can't
Mm,
find a place that you can safely talk about it in a lot of ways, right?
yeah,
Like because there's just like you said, that person, even if you took the time to explain it to them, they just will never understand because you can't understand what it's like to be in that scenario unless you've been there and
yeah,
or lived a very similar experience, and so it's the I don't know, and again, like there's a lot of people who haven't had that experience that want to try to help in a lot of ways, right? It
mm.
comes from a good place, right? They're trying to
Oh, yeah.
understand, but it's just not. It all I don't know. In my case, like I have, it frustrates me in a way, right? Because I understand that they want to know and they want to help, but it's just one of those things that they'll never get, and so then you're left alone with, well, I have to find someone else who has been through this similar scenario that gets it. But then at the same time, it's still a painful conversation to have. Like it is a, survivor guilt and a lot of the other stuff that comes with these scenarios are just insane. And some of the stuff that you see and do, there's nothing to relate it to. Like the only thing that most people can relate it to is like a movie that they watched. And movies are completely
Yeah,
just,
way off.
yeah. I mean, some of the
Way off.
nuances they get, like some of the like firefight snaps, cracks, and stuff like that. But like the real world combat scenario of a
It
firefight
is
or
completely. Yeah.
IEDs or mortars or VBIT, you know what I mean? Like it's just
The after effect,
if
the
you've
after effect.
never
You go,
gone on a night raid,
man, yeah,
right? Then you just don't know. And they try, right? I've talked to it about some
yeah,
people with civilians about it or people who haven't, and it's a hard conversation to have because they either go two different routes. They're like, "Oh my god, that's the most terrifying thing I've ever heard." Like, how do you function? I'm like, "You don't. No, no, no. Like, you're missing the point. Like, it's not about yes, you're terrified, but like, it's something that you just do and you do it over and over again. The terrifying shit
yeah,
is what happens after. It's like the night raid part of it is whatever. But it's the being in firefights or just the scenarios you end up in a lot of the times, and it's frustrating me because they always get caught up in the terror part of it, right? Like the oh my god, that's crazy. Like I can't imagine being mortared. I can't imagine myself in that scenario, or I can't. And I'm like, yeah, I need you to get past that point though, because I'm trying to get to the other part, And I think that's where I always get caught up with people who haven't been in that scenario is that they just literally cannot comprehend being in it, you know.
mm,
And yeah, firefights are terrifying. They're also freaking. I mean, it's a tough thing to say, but in some ways, they're kind of fucking exciting too, in a way.
oh,
Like the adrenaline
yeah,
piece.
yeah.
And
It's that steam you need to let off.
yeah, and it's hard to explain that to someone because they're like, "What do you mean it's exciting?" I'm
You're looking death in the face. How's
like
that
you are
exciting?
staring death square in the face. Like death is coming for you. You can see him,
100 miles an hour.
and you are just like in your element, right?
You're
And you
living
are
it.
living the dream in that moment. And it's the shit that
God
happens
damn.
afterwards when you decompress and you realize
Yeah.
when the adrenaline
J-
stops and you get hit with that massive just exhaustion wave and then all the feelings and emotions that your body said, "Fuck that, I don't have time for this." They all hit you
Yeah.
like a
No.
freight train.
Oh damn. Yeah.
And that's the worst part. And then like for me, it was the times. So when I got out of the military, I never went and got treated for like post traumatic stress disorder or anything like that. I never went that route, right? And I've debated it recently, about just thinking about the process. But anyway, that's here nor there. But I think one of the
Yeah.
things that is hardest for me, and I've heard a lot of others say the same thing, is that it's the hours when you don't have something occupying your time, right? That it hits you. It's like at night at 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep and you're laying there in bed and it comes for you. And then you're
Mm,
usually alone, and that's the time that you need something the most. And it's really
mm,
only those times. Like when you get up in the morning and you do stuff, like, yeah, life sucks, but you have like things to do sometimes that like distract you away from it, right? And you don't really think about it until you have those moments where you literally are like supposed to be sleeping, or you're supposed to be, it's that non mental engagement time periods, and that's when it was the worst for me. And I mean, now I'm at a point, it's been like freaking 10 years at this point, so it's been a while for me. So
Mm.
I'm at a point where I'm on kind of the other side of the fence. I still have a lot of the stuff happen, and I'll have a random crazy nightmare or some crazy stuff happening once in a blue moon, but it's not as constant as it used to be. I used to be in a zone where like it was every night with the night sweats and the night terrors and the, waking up screaming, or you like wake up half
Oh yeah.
asleep and you're like reliving a scenario or something, and then you kind of like snap
You're
out of it.
still there. Yeah.
Yeah, you like just snap right back out of it. Or you have one of those like awful lucid style dreams where you're
Yeah.
reliving, you're redreaming the scenario, but you're trying to do something different, and you're either trapped
Yeah.
and not able to do something different,
And you
or
just forced to watch. Yeah.
you try to do something different and you manage to do something different, but then you wake up and realize it was just a dream and you didn't change anything. Like those are the ones that I think are the hard. That's the kind of hard shit that when you're in the middle of that shit, and like I think that the I don't know. I think the biggest challenge on my end is I'm on the somewhat on the other side of that, but I have no idea how I got out of it. Right? Like I know
Mm.
certain things that I did that got me to the point that I'm at, but it's not as simple as like, oh yeah, man, I did this and this is what you should do to get out of it. Like it's not that simple. And I think that's
Mm.
what makes it so hard when you talk to others, because I know exactly what you're talking about when you say night sweats and nightmares and the guilt and the, like I
Yeah.
know exactly how that kind of stuff feels. And I don't know. Like it's hard. I mean, it's just, and it's even harder when you have a huge demographic that just will never be able to understand the concept. Like most people don't go to jobs where your coworker dies in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Or you don't go to a job where your job is literally to flip a coin on live or die. Because it's basically, depending on your role, like when you go on a raid, you're full well knowing that when you go on that raid, there's a 50-50 shot you're coming back. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like before you can even begin to talk to somebody about that, it's like that. Have you ever had a job like that? You know what I mean? Because most
Well,
people,
yeah.
you
Like
know,
you're walking out and you know that you might not come back right now. Like you know you might this might be the last time you walk out these gates.
I, th- you know, there was a concept too that we were talking about yesterday. It was missing that you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof feeling, right? Because
Yeah.
when I was doing that stuff, I never ever thought about the like, I could die doing this, right? Like
Yeah.
it never crossed my mind. Like it was
Hmm.
always, I mean, sometimes it was like, oh shit, this is a close one, or oh fuck, this could be
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
But not like the living in constant terror of like, guys, I can't go on this one. I'm gonna die. Like that never really
Yeah.
happened. It was after the fact when you're like,
Mm.
shit, that was close, man. I
That
probably
was
could have
close.
died there, And then you're like, damn. And now that you're on the other end of it, looking back, you're like, God, I should have died like 100,000 times by now,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I think, I don't even know, like, if I was going to go back into a scenario like that again, I know too much now. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
know how fragile it is. I know because I mean that's the other thing too. An elephant, you said it a minute ago, was that most people, the only death they'll ever see is like a grandmother passing, right? And nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, they won't even be in the room with them, right?
Hmm.
Like a lot of people just have never experienced someone dying before, or being exposed to it, or even have seen a dead body. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, like and I mean, guys, I apologize in advance if I trigger anybody. I'm sorry. I've got some resources for you too. Please just feel free to hop out if you need to, because who knows? We'll talk about all kinds of crazy shit. But just a disclaimer. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and so that, like, that's the other thing of like, most people have never seen a dead body. Most people have never
Yeah.
seen somebody get shot. Most
Hmm.
people have never seen an actual serious wound, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody getting their leg blown off, or like a really bad cut, or seeing like a cut down to the bone, or like
Hmm.
brain, You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's not, you see it in movies and you see like the pink mist and everybody just gets one shot murdered and everybody dies and
yeah,
stuff, but
yeah.
that's not real life,
How it is.
and that's not how it is. And so
No.
again, I think another thing too, right, is a struggle, and tell me if you think the same way, is that even in the military, everybody has different experiences. There's people who went on deployments and never saw combat. There's people
I
who have
think yeah.
been out there, have done the same job, and have never had a similar experience. And then there's those
Hmm.
that stumbled into a scenario like that, even. Or, you've got police officers, or you've got people who just, you're walking down the street and all of a sudden gunfight breaks out, right? It's the same
Yeah,
freaking scenario. You're just not in combat. And
yeah.
so, of an already, when you're taking, if you took the world like a pie chart, right? And so only, what did they say, like 10% or less join the, what is it, 3% or less join the military.
Yeah,
So
something like
okay, so of that we take 97% and toss them out. Of that
that. Mm.
3%, there's those that have been to a combat situation or had that kind of life experience. And then of that, you break out even further. Was it similar to the one I've had or not? Because
Yeah.
like Afghanistan versus Iraq, very different theaters, very different operations. Were you
Hmm.
blown up? Were you shot? Were you, did you deal with IEDs? Was your threat snipers? Because I can tell
Hmm.
you my thing in Iraq, the two things we dealt with, well, three that we dealt with the most that we had to be so concerned about. When we were in Baghdad, we had Juba the sniper out there, and he was this like Ukrainian Persian mercenary dude that was just basically nailing people. Like, I'll tell you exactly, the first day we were in country, like first day, hit the ground. We're doing right seat rides with this unit to like figure out the land, the AO, and everything, and just kind of see what's going on. We
Yeah.
had a guy literally get shot going 60 miles an hour down Route Irish in Baghdad through a
Damn.
slot in a window about 3 inches wide.
Fuck.
He got shot in the head and died instantly. Instantly. First day out. Like literally the first day out. We were 30 seconds in. Like we didn't, and most of us had never been on combat deployment before. The only thing we have relevance to is we watched Black Hawk Down way too many damn times, right? So we're
Yeah.
rolling down Route Irish scared as shit, like peeking up, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like you're freaking out, but your adrenaline's skyrocketing. And literally, this
Yeah.
dude got shot 60 miles an hour down a highway, got shot by a sniper, and fucking died right there. Like, he didn't even make it back to the fucking base to get medical care. And, like,
Yeah.
that was day one. And then
Mm.
day two, we lost two more guys. And like, we kept losing people right and left to snipers. I
Yeah.
had a really good friend in my squad, and I'll tell this story a little bit later, but he got shot by a sniper in the face, and he we had I happen like I have the nightmares I have are always from this day, but
Mm.
he lived, fortunately. Like, he didn't die from it, so it's a positive. But it was the horrible thing about it was the way the scenario. Well, fuck, I'll just tell the story. All right, so anyway, we're out. I was like, okay, I'm just it's easier if I just tell the story. All right, so here's the scenario. We're out in Baghdad, and we're doing. This was at the time in 2007 when they were trying to build a wall to cordon off Baghdad, right? Because,
Oh yeah.
and we were
Yeah.
going to keep all of the insurgents out, right? And
Mm.
our job was to basically get in there and protect the work crews. We would infill in the like early morning, get in place in silent kill teams, and we would do ops at night and daytime. So it's basically 24-hour ops. You'd
Yeah.
go for 14 hours, come back, sleep for 2 hours, grab as much ammo as you could, and go back out and set back up. All right. And so
Yeah.
this was in Dora, and during 2007 in the Triangle of Death in Baghdad. And so this was the spot, right? We were in the, like, if you Google Dora Baghdad 2007, this was the fucking place. And so your life expectancy was like 2 minutes in this place, right? Like, this was Vietnam of my generation. And so
Damn.
we're getting in there, and I remember this day. So we had a guy go out on leave, and it was already kind of a sketchy thing with it because he was having some issues with his wife, and it was like, I don't know if this dude's ever going to come back, kind of thing. And the problem was that he was the radio guy, and like one of the drivers was out. So one guy in my squad and I were swapping back and forth. So he'd be a driver for a day, and then I would be a driver for the day, and then you do your normal team. So we are already down a team member because of this. So we go in and we set up, and the mistake we made this day was that it was basically we'd go in, we'd pick a house first thing in the morning, go get set up in it, and then set up, your silent kill team. And somebody picked the same house 2 days in a row, and that was the mistake we made that day. Is that they had already clocked us and mapped where we were or where we were going to be, right? So they already knew, and so this sniper had set up somewhere in the vicinity. So we're up there, and the day prior, literally the day prior, I was in the exact same spot this dude was in, right? So it was kind of one of those mud hut type things where it was a 3-story building, and there was a stairwell that led, like you have a courtyard and an iron gate. You come in the iron gate, there's a first and second floor, and then like this top, I don't know, like a parapet type thing, right? So we had guys in the courtyard, we had guys on the second floor, and we got like one or two guys doing Overwatch on the top floor from there, right? 3 different positions. So this particular, well, the day prior, I kept getting sniper shots at me like all day long. I started like kneeling and peeking out of this hole that was about an inch wide, right? And then I kept having to get lower and lower and lower. So by the end of the day, I'm like laying in the prone, looking out of a hole, about this big with my rifle, trying to watch these workers, but also looking for any kind of contact, and then returning fire if they are getting contact. And so this dude kept trying to hit me, right? I could feel it. And like, if you've ever been shot at with a sniper, it's that sound, and then you start hearing the crack sound, right? So all day long that's happening. I'm like, shit, I can't find this dude. And it was driving me nuts. Like, every chance at time I moved, he was pegging at me. And so I literally just couldn't do anything but lay there. I laid there all day, and I was able to kind of do what I needed to do. But I knew this dude was after me, right? And so I couldn't. Finally, we exfil that night. We get done. We come back. So the problem was we went back to the same fucking spot the very next day. I am in the vehicle this time, and my buddy is the one that's in my position. And so I'm sitting there, regular day. I'm just chilling in the vehicle, not doing anything. And the problem was that all the roads had deep buried IEDs in them, so you could not fucking drive down them. They were black, right? If you basically just, it's a suicide. Like, they're gonna blow you to hell if you try to go into these cities. So the medevac plan was you had to exfil them on foot to a certain location where the medevac could get them and then take them to the green zone to get aid, right? Which is a shit show, because nobody, like, if you're in contact and you've got a casualty on foot, you know how crazy it is to try to get to anywhere. And so it was already a bad plan, but you know how it is. You just have orders, and that's the way it went. So anyway, all that to say, sitting in the vehicle, I'm listening to the comms. All of a sudden, the radio just blows the fuck up. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And like, everybody's like yelling and screaming. We hear gunfight. They're in contact, obviously. And so finally it comes over comms of like, we've got a casualty, head wound. We are trying to evac, but they're under fire. So they had this guy got sniped, and then they lit up with like a PKM or something. And so they were returning fire, but they were pinned down. They couldn't get out of the courtyard. And so I remember the driver, or the vehicle commander, and I are sitting there, and we were the closest vehicle to where they were. And so we kind of like, they kept requesting a medevac, and they weren't getting it, right? They were just like, we can't come to you, the route's black. And so finally, we were like, all right, this is one of those moments in the Army where you're going to get in a lot of fucking trouble, right? And so the vehicle commander and I were like, dude, let's just fucking do it. And so we said, fuck it. Like, right? And we were like, YOLO. And so we said, hey, we're coming to get you. And so we drove down, like, we had to take 3 blocks, like go down 3 blocks and left 3 blocks to get to where they were at. And like, I'm talking like you're sitting there and like when you can feel like you're already imagining how the hit's gonna come. You already know you're gonna
Yeah,
die and you're just like
yeah,
feeling it.
yeah.
So we're driving down this road and like shit's blowing like it's fucking crazy, man. Like just shit's
Mm.
happening. It's gunfire. I mean, it looked like the best way I can
Something on
describe this
movie.
is like Black Hawk Down when they're driving down the road and
Yeah,
like all the shit's blowing up and stuff. It was like that.
yeah,
So finally we get in there, we ram the fucking gate and we just back into it, knock it down, and they bring this dude in. And so they're under gunfire. So we're like, look, just toss it in, right? Like toss him in, we'll get him to the medevac.
yeah.
And so, because the medevac was still like, we can't risk the medevac, we can't get to you. So then we're like, all right, fine. I tell the vehicle commander, I'm like, look, get the aid bag and start doing what you can for him. And I saw them carry him in. And when I say, and guys, again, trigger warning, this get where it gets gross. The dude's face was falling off.
Yeah.
Like he basically what happened was he was sitting in the same spot I was yesterday, the day prior, right? And this is where I have the nightmares. Is
Mm-hmm.
he was that should have been me, right? It should have been me.
Yeah, yeah.
So this guy was sitting right there and he didn't know, right? And I didn't think about it. Like it's not just something you think about, right? And I should have been like, hey man,
Mm.
be very careful, but I didn't. And so basically the
Yeah,
sniper shot at him and there was this wrought iron like fin- uh you know how like they make like railing out of like wrought iron twisted metal kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
So it was that kind of so the bullet came and it hit that metal piece and the bullet split into two pieces. And so
Oh,
one piece went in like by his ear on the right hand side and skimmed around the inside of his helmet over the top front of his skull and popped out the other side, right? It didn't actually
fuck.
penetrate his
Right.
skull, but it basically between the helmet that he had, it went in the right side of his helmet, dug into the skin and basically just like
Cut.
cut his face off, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, like skinned it. Yeah.
the
Oh
problem
yeah.
with head wounds is you never know how bad they are because they bleed like
No.
crazy, right? Like you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gush
yeah.
blood for no damn reason. And so
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching this dude, and I like he's already like turning gray and white, right? And again, I'm
Mm.
just sitting there like he's not gonna fucking make it. Like
Yeah.
his face is falling off and he's gray. Like he is non like he's not talking, he's not interacting, he's slumped over, like he's like basically going in and out of consciousness and he's turning gray. I'm like,
Yeah.
this dude's gonna die in the back of this vehicle. And so I'm sitting there and like I was just like, dude, don't worry about a fucking thing. I'll get us to the fucking medevac. All you gotta fucking do is like put
Don't
some
don't
shit like just keep him do whatever you can for him. I don't fuck I like fuck I don't know.
keep away.
Like just
Yeah.
keep him awake, keep him alert, try to stop the
Mm-hmm.
bleeding as much as you can. Like
Yeah.
I will get us there. And so when I tell you that I Tokyo drifted this bad boy, I was like fucking on two wheels, running through shops. Like I was plowing through a downtown fucking market in Baghdad like
Yeah.
nobody. I mean, it was fucking
Fucking
insane, right?
man.
We
Yeah.
actually beat the fucking medevac to the Kazovac site. And we were on the other
Yeah.
side of the fucking city. So when I say I had pedal to the metal, Tokyo drifting this bad boy, it was fucking
Yeah.
insane. So I remember sitting there and like drifting in, man. And we get there. And so when they wrote the after action report, they say he walked to the medevac. And I can tell you that is fucking bullshit. Because
Yeah.
when I saw this dude, he was gray and white. And like
Mm.
there was no color in him and he wasn't responsive and he was carried into that Kazovac. And then they took him
Yeah.
from there and took him straight to the green zone to do emergency surgery. We then
Yeah.
had to go back to our previous position and finish the mission. So we didn't even get an opportunity to like
Damn.
go see him or anything like that until after the mission was over.
Mm.
So you know how it is. Like first off, comms are fucking silent. You can't
Yep.
fucking
Yep.
you can't do anything. You don't know what's going on. You have so many fucking emotions going on. You're mad, you're angry, you're crying. Like
Yep.
I cried.
Yeah.
I like fucking like I cracked the hatch and shot at anything that moved. Like just
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just a
I know.
roller coaster of emotions, right? And
Mm.
so finally after the mission ended and we were on our way back, we diverted to get over to the green zone. And
Mm.
I had this like I nobody else knew, right? Except for me and the other vehicle commander because we were the last ones that saw him. But like I basically was going for the whole rest of the day of like, he's dead, man.
Yeah.
Like that, there nobody like you don't live from that. Like you're white and your face is falling off. Like they that just doesn't.
Yeah.
So everybody else was like, I hope he's okay. He's hope he's okay. And I was just like sitting there having to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
I hope he's okay too. But like you just have that pit.
You
You
accept
know,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And so I had already come to terms with like the dude's fucking dead. So we go over to the green zone and we manage to get to the hospital there and we see him and he was alive. Like
Mm.
they managed to fucking do whatever they did and he looked like dog shit. I mean, he looked like
Oh
something
yeah.
that like Leatherface from fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But
Yeah.
he was alive and so I had to go through all those emotions again of like we didn't lose him.
Mm.
But then like I'd already come to terms and then I had to come to additional terms. And then you have the rage of
Redemption.
like revenge. You want revenge and you want, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
You want to
so
do what they did to, yeah.
like,
Do what
I
they
want
did
to
to you.
go hurt some people now,
Yeah.
And so
Of
that
course.
was, and so he got sent to Germany and then he got sent back to the States. And then the crazy bastard managed to do some drug deal and got his way back. So he joined us by the end of the deployment again. But we had his gear, right? Like his body armor and his helmet in the tent
Mm.
as like a reminder. And it
Yeah.
was I mean, when I say it was soaked in blood, like it was, I mean, you know what a head
Yeah.
wound could do. And so
Yeah. Mm.
that, I can tell you, man, that I have relived that day
Mm.
more times than I can imagine. And I've had a ton of other similar experiences like that, but like that's the one that has haunted me at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's the thing that comes and haunts me. And it's not the firefights, it's not the blown up,
Mm.
it's not the other stuff, but that's the one because it
Mm.
was just such a crazy day, and it was
Yeah.
all over the map. And the guilt and the rage and the anger and the hopelessness and the power, like you felt powerless, like everything got
Yeah.
taken away from you. You couldn't do anything to help this person. And that feeling of powerlessness was just crazy, and I think that was one of the hardest things for me, and I know
Mm.
a lot of other people have dealt with a lot of other things. And again, my experience is nowhere near as bad as others or even yours in a lot of ways because, my guy, he made it.
Yeah.
He ended up, which is again, that's a whole different thing. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I mean, and we lost a lot of people on that deployment and those
Yeah. We did.
conversations. And then I also, at one point, as I was getting out of the military, was on the other end of it where we have what's called a casualty notification officer, where you're the one that goes and notifies the families that, their
Yeah.
loved one died.
Yeah.
And so that's fuck, man, that's a whole nother thing. But I think
Yeah.
the other thing that I have dealt with, which is equally as painful, and what I deal with personally, why the veteran suicide thing for me is so impactful, is that I have two friends that while I was in the service with them killed themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I literally, well, I can tell you, one of them is that vehicle commander that I was with that went through all that craziness. So that
Yeah.
one made it extra hard because
Mm.
he's the only other surviving person on this. Well, he was, that
Yeah.
lived that experience with me. And so I am alone in that.
Mm.
And so that one was hard. And then another one, again, it was just losing. I think the hardest thing with suicide, right? And again, this is a tough topic, guys. And I apologize, again, it's if you got to duck out or something, just be aware, and hit me up offline if you need to. But I think the suicide part of it was tough because you see the signs after the fact a lot of the times, right? Like there's always that thing that people say of like, oh, well, they just didn't, I never
Didn't
saw
see
this
this coming.
coming. And I'm like, and
Yeah.
then you start looking at it and you analyze it and you're like, fuck,
Mm.
they were there the whole time and I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't notice. Or like that dude was struggling with, that's why he was doing that. And he was struggling with something. And I literally was too stupid to freaking see it.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's the hard part, right? And so the
Oh yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, again, I'm like I said, I'm not a therapist. I don't know how to say it. I can just
Mm.
tell you that's the kind of stuff that I deal with. Is that when you said survivor guilt,
Yeah.
I I know, I know how that feels. I
Yeah.
know how that can hurt. And it's a kind of hurt
Mm.
that a lot of people just don't know. And I you know, the other thing is I hope nobody ever knows, right? Like truly, I
Mm.
don't wish any of that on anybody. I don't wish
Anybody. Yeah.
my experiences on anybody ever. Like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
honestly, you know, I don't know. It's a tough toss up. Yes, I would do it all again, but at the same time, is
Yeah.
that I wouldn't wish like for real. I would not wish combat on my worst enemy. It's horrible. It's fucking terrible.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
it's a horrible thing to go through and experience. And
Mm-hmm.
the person you come back as and the person you went in as are two different people. And
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It's like, I'll tell you a movie that I really identify with. I don't know if you've ever seen it because it's old. The Butterfly Effect, right, with
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's this feeling that that movie gives you when you're watching it
Mm.
that it's this like he never he can't ever fit back into the world. Like even when he gets it going and like he kind of gets things working out the way it should, he still just can't fit into it. It's like
Yeah.
that cake and eat it too. And that feeling is
Yeah.
how I have felt a lot of times off and on over the years after getting out of the military of like
Mm.
they just you know things that no one else knows and you've experienced
Yeah.
things that no one else has experienced and you're kind of like an alien, right? You come back as an
Yeah.
alien because everybody else went on and lived their normal lives, you know, like they the biggest thing that they worried about was the new car model came out and somebody's grandma died, like normal people stuff. And
Yeah.
you had friends die in your arms,
Mm-hmm.
you have seen people die, you have killed
Yeah.
people, you have like
Yeah.
and so you're just like like you're just an alien. You know, you have
Yeah.
nothing in common with these people anymore because their worst fucking day on that they'll ever live is like a Tuesday for you.
Yeah.
You know,
It's your breakfast.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I have done like what you consider to be your worst day of your life is
Mm.
nothing in comparison to what my worst day has been. And
Yeah.
that and I don't even mean it from like an arrogant way. And I think that's what I struggle with
No. No.
too is
No.
that you
Yeah.
don't try to come off as like I'm a badass. I'll tell you I'm not. I'm in no way. It's
No.
just
No.
you just can't understand. And then that sometimes people really want to and they're like, "Well, help me understand." I'm like, "I can't." Because unless I put you in
Mm.
that scenario and you live that, you will never know what it's
You will
like.
never. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Like
It's,
do you know what blood smells like? You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? Like, do you know what blood smells like in large quantity? Like that kind of stuff. And so that's the kind of
Yeah.
things that it's just hard. It's hard conversations to have, but it's also
Mm.
part of the struggle of what you live with, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm. No, for sure. Yeah.
It's got kind of a penny smell. It kind of smells like pennies. Like if
Yeah.
you,
Kind of like iron, but it's I don't know. It's definitely it's an over-inducing smell.
I'll tell
It's
you,
I don't know.
well, the other fact that people don't talk about, right, is that most times out of 10, if you get shot, you're going to shit yourself.
Yeah.
So people shit
Well, yeah.
themselves. So there's the smell. There is, and I'll tell you again, guys, trigger warning, and I apologize. Please reach out to me if you need to after this, or 741-741 if you're in the U.S. is a crisis counselor. Um,
Mm.
the smell of a dead body, like one that's been
Yeah.
decomposing, right?
Mhm.
That smell of
Mhm.
death. And like people
Mm.
always talk about it in movies and in literature, but I'm telling you, if you've ever smelled death,
Yeah.
like it's a you
Mm.
know it. And I remember one time the best way I can describe it is if you take a rotten, it's like a rotten fruit smell, right? Like you take a dumpster behind like a produce stand, and then you
Mm.
get like a sewage, like a porta potty, and mix it with that
Mm.
smell, and then the smell of like a Burger King or a burger place grease trap. If you mixed all three of those smells together, that's the smell of death. It
That's
is.
probably right. Yeah, that's probably close.
It's. I'll tell you that. Do you ever have smells? Do smells trigger stuff for you? Like if you smell a
Yeah,
smell,
yeah,
like that's
yeah.
something.
If I smell a smell, if I hear a fucking, if I hear a clack, if I hear a bang, if I hear a pin drop, anything,
Hmm.
e- everything. But
The
smells is the worst.
I was about to say,
Smells
I
the
feel like smells are the
yeah.
worst for me.
That's the one thing you never get over. Is the smells. You get over the explosions, and you get over like the little tings of rounds hitting
Sorry to
the
hear that,
floor, rounds
Mello. I know
hitting
that
you,
must have been a hell of a
whatever.
traumatic
But the
experience.
smell is no, the smell is something that will kill your stomach till next week.
Yeah, and I think that death smell, that rotten, it's hard to describe for somebody who's never had it,
Mm,
but
yeah,
like human death smell is one thing, right? It's a very unique smell. It's similar but also like a rotten dead animal, right? If you ever like
mm,
roadkill or something,
yeah,
that
yeah.
it's a similar smell, but there's this
But
little bit sweeter, and that's a disgusting way to describe it, but it's like a sweeter
I know it. Yeah, I know what
smell
you're
to
going.
it, and that's
Yeah,
what a dead body, a human smells like. And
it's like fresher, but not
yeah, it's guys, I know
fresh. As in more. Yeah,
this is a crazy fucking conversation to be having right now. What a dead human smells like. But again, I want to have the reason why I want to do this, right, and why I think this is important is that this is conversations that we can talk about because you may never have been able to talk to someone about this ever before and
yeah.
be
No,
comfortable about it, right? And
no.
so
So yeah,
if I don't care if you're military, I don't care if you're a first responder, I don't care if you're a civilian, if you have a lived life experience and you want to have these kind of conversations, you're comfortable with sharing about it, like that's what I want this to turn into. Because again, some people have gone 10, 15 years never being able to talk about the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to them in their lives because they can't find somebody who can relate to it. And I want to get
yeah,
enough people into this environment to where we can talk about this shit and not feel scared or hold back or feel judged or anything. Because I'll tell you, if you judge anybody in this group, I'm going to find you and I'm going to fuck you up. So I'll tell you that right now. I will go Liam
yeah,
Neeson on your ass, okay?
yeah. We will find you and we
We
will
will
kill you.
find you
You
and we
do.
will hurt you because we've made
We
a
will.
lifelong
Yeah.
career of doing that shit.
We're
Oh,
gonna.
Mello, I'm finding you for that other reason.
We'll find Mello for another reason. Definitely
Yeah,
Mello.
we're
We
both
got
coming
you,
for you
Mello.
for a different reason,
We got
Mello.
you, buddy. Tag team you, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Eiffel Tower. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, the smells though, back to that, like that London Bridge. Yeah, we got to do the UK version.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going for me. He's
That's
going
too
for the
funny.
UK.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know what the US version. I guess the Space Needle is that what we would call it?
This place deal?
We'd Space Needle somebody. But
Yeah,
yeah,
probably get it, wouldn't it?
um, well, let me ask you this too. Like, this is something that I'm on the fence about, right? And I can understand. I I go on both sides of the fence with this, but for
Mm,
us, like July 4th, right? I'm not sure what your version of that is, but where they shoot off all the fireworks and they do all that stuff, right?
yeah.
So I'm at a point where that doesn't bother me. Now I can tell you that I was at a time where it did, right?
Mm,
But I was torn between like I greatly enjoyed blowing shit up, right? Like that was
yeah.
a huge passion of mine, and if I could still find a way to pull it off legally, I would. But
Yeah.
like that was my
I'm
thing.
down.
Demo was fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it wasn't that I didn't know what it was. It was just that it, like you said, sometimes it's the sounds that trigger you.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have it's kind of a sad, pathetic, but funny story about when we first got back. So mortars, I don't know if you've ever been mortared or rocketed, but
Yeah.
the sound it makes is similar to like when a jet flies over your head. It
Mm-hmm.
makes this sound that literally sounds like a jet flying over the top of you, and then you start hearing the whistle, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I we got rocketed and mortared like freaking crazy, like all the freaking time. It got to a point where it's like, you know what, fuck it, man. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. I'm not going to the mortar
Mm.
shelter anymore. I'm just going to sleep right here. You know, if it
Yeah,
blows my ass up, then it blows my ass up. Like you
it
got to
does.
that
Yeah,
level, right?
yeah.
So when we got back, my ex-wife was graduating like year one of nursing school or something, and it was an outdoor ceremony. And we got back in like July, I think, or something. And so it was an
Mm.
outdoor, like, you know, it's on the lawn, and they got all the little chairs, and they walk across the thing or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah,
my buddy and I, we're on, you know, as soon as you get back, they give you just a lot of free time, right? And so we
hmm
were off for some reason or whatever. And so we went, and we're like, hey, we'll just go sit down or whatever. So we go out and we're in the crowd and we're sitting outside and we're waiting for the ceremony to start. And then all of a sudden they didn't tell anybody and it wasn't in the brochure, but they were having like some military jets fly over as like a
yeah,
salute to the troops or something, but it wasn't like
yeah,
advertised and we didn't know about it.
yeah.
So we are fresh off the plane. We've been back for probably like 72 hours at this point. And all of a
hmm
sudden that jet starts flying over. And both of us look at each other with like that pure terror, right? Because instincts just kicked in. Like,
Yeah,
didn't even think about, like, dude, we're stateside and who the fuck would be mortaring us right now? Like,
yeah,
didn't think
yeah,
about
yeah.
that part. And so we literally were like, holy fuck. And just like this terror. So
Yeah,
literally,
yeah,
we both started like grabbing the people next to us and like shoving them to the ground. And we're like,
yeah,
get down, bro, get
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
And then all of a
Kicking
sudden
them under the table.
they're like sitting there and they're like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I am
You're like a
so
freaking idiot.
sorry, ma'am. I did
Yeah.
not mean to smash your grandma into the ground.
You body slamming into the table.
Like
Like, get
literally, we're like,
down.
because that's the first thing do. We were body shielding people into the ground of like,
Yeah.
fuck, like get down, like what the fuck are you doing?
Mm.
Get down, you idiots. And
Yeah.
then it was
What are you
like, oh, it's
doing?
a jet. And then like it was that moment of like, we're so sorry. Like we just got back
Yeah.
from Iraq. Like we're so
Yeah.
sorry. This is the
It's not.
stupidest thing I've ever done. I am so
Mm.
sorry. Like little unknown fact, but you know, you did like that sounds just like a mortar if anybody wanted to know. So even to this day, right, I live near an airport, and so sometimes jets will fly over or helicopters will do training, and I have one
Yeah.
of those moments of like, huh, you know, like oh yeah,
Yeah.
like oh it's good, we're good, we're
Yeah.
good, we're
We
nowhere
good.
near
We
war,
good. We good.
like,
Yeah.
but in that one moment, it's like oh, butthole puckered, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sounds and the smells I think are the most powerful when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's how I know even though I've never gone the mental health route, I got a I got a nice little dose of PTSD somewhere because that shit just comes and gets me
Oh
every
yeah.
once in a blue moon.
No, definitely. Definitely.
What else do you feel like what are some of the other things that are really kind of hard to deal with? And chat, definitely pipe in guys if you want to share. And even from a non-military perspective, like when it comes to a traumatic event, you know, the smells, the sounds, what what are some of the other things that you deal with? You know, dreams obviously are the worst fucking ones. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't
Dreams are
I
the
tried to take
worst.
melatonin to help me sleep, but it gave me such vivid dreams that I had to quit taking it because it
Yeah.
was I mean, it was like a dream drug.
Well, I never took any melatonin or
Mhm.
any sleeping tab because that was the thing. I didn't when I got back.
Mhm.
When I fully came back, never went back. That was like my that was probably like my worst time. Like the
Mhm.
first time I went over to Afghanistan, it was kind of like hit and miss. First couple of weeks were kind of like you had a bit of contact, but it wasn't anything like you'd see full frontal sort of
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah.
Um, Second time I went over, that was kind of like knee deep in shit. And then third time I went over, my last time was basically like where everything just completely like it went up in those levels. It was like medium. It was like easy, medium, and then just shit show.
Mhm.
Just in that order. So when I came back on my third deployment, it was definitely my worst deployment for sure because that's when I had leadership, I had command, I was
That makes a
running a
whole new
team.
element of like the responsibility that comes with it, in addition to that, is just
Yeah, and
yeah,
coming back to the whole, coming back telling your friends' parents that their son's not coming back is the hard thing. And I remember we was going down this road in Gaza in Afghanistan, and it's supposed to have been swept the day before, and cleared.
yeah. They always say
Um,
that.
yeah, well, me and obviously we was in one HV cruising down. I was point man,
Hmm.
obviously for anything conspicuous, plastic bowls, IEDs, anything like
Yep.
that. And we went straight over a landmine.
Mm.
But we didn't go over it. We went over it, but went over it to like a bit off it, so
Hmm.
we didn't trigger it. What happened was, a few meters behind us, the next one behind us, they went off our tracks. They hit this. They hit this landmine. And obviously, the Humvees that you have, it's all metal plated. It's armored to hell. Is the undercarriage. It's designed to take these hits.
Hmm.
It flipped it. It flipped the friggin' the HV straight onto its deck. We all jumped out, took cover instantly. Just peppered, absolutely
Yep.
peppered with small arms fire, RPGs, everything, sniper rounds tinging off the HVs and everything. My whole point was, I'm getting these guys out. I fucking shoot me in the back of the head, shoot
Yeah.
whatever.
You
Fucking,
want
I'm getting my
you want to
guys
take the
out
hit.
of this. Yeah, I'm getting these guys out of this fucking MV. Like, fuck you. you
Yep.
you do what you want to do with me, but I am pulling these guys out of this MV. Um, but that was I think that was the first point where I truly saw the shit. Like, multiple dead people of my own team. Like, there was six guys in this Humvee. Five of them was dead. One of them was on the edge.
Yeah.
And obviously that's that. As sick as it sounds, that's the guy you're gunning for.
Yep.
Like, you want to get them all out, but the guy that's still breathing, the guy that's still kicking, that's the guy you're gunning for at the end of the day.
It's your
So we
life
pull him
goal to
out.
pull him the hell out and get him the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yep.
We pull him out. We pull him back to the medivac. We get him out of there. We cut fire. We retreat and we head back to. We split back to camp. Obviously, shit's gone high up. We've been outed. So we just completely come back. We'll take out chin of the day, kind of thing. That night hit me so hard. Like you say, the whole time when you've got nothing to do and your mind's just resting, you're not
Yep.
doing nothing.
That is
I was
the.
sat in. Come.
Hmm.
No, I was sat in my bunker and it was all just coming back to me, like, what happened that day. Like, how did I miss that? How did I miss that IED that had hit my guys behind us? And you're
Yep.
blaming yourself, you're kicking yourself, you're doing all that stuff. And I just remember thinking, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here. That's when suicide kicked in for me. And I just remember pulling up my sidearm, my pistol, and just pointing it to my head, cocking it.
Hmm.
And then as soon as I was literally pulling the hammer back, I just heard contact. Like, we'd been hit at the front gates by insurgents. So obviously, helmets on, um,
Yep.
armor on. You've got your weapon, everything like that. You've ran out and you've just started raining down fire. Um,
That
this come
rage,
back.
that rage, and
Yeah.
that emotion you feel in that moment.
Mm.
It's
But like,
yeah.
seconds before, I was about to end my own life with this, and then I was about to literally shoot myself before this happened, and then it's kind of like, hang on a minute, now you try to come and kill the rest of my guys. Like, what the hell are you doing? So obviously this firefight lasts for about a good hour, just constant back and forth, small arms fire going everywhere, and literally it was just shit. I came home, I think, about 2 weeks after that, and yeah, that's really what put me out of the perspective, because I was living with mates at the time when I came back, and they looked at me, they looked at me like they was thinking, "Who are you?" Like this, that just the look, the glazed look in my eyes was just like they just knew that
Yeah.
the guy that I was when I went over there, he died over there. some of the guys come back, and that's
That
how I felt ever since. That's
yeah,
the shit.
that's something I yeah, yeah, that is an excellent way to put it. And that's something that I don't know. Sometimes I get angry, right? And I get frustrated with that because you're right. The person that went over died,
Yeah.
and the person that came back knows about that person's life, but it's,
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. It's like that movie, The Prestige or something. Like you're the
Yeah.
clone. You're a
Mm.
clone that's basically been given the memories of the person that went over there. But the person your family knew, the person your friends knew, they're dead. They've been dead. They
Yeah.
died
They
in
they
those
died with the
places.
rest of the people. Yeah.
And so the person that came back doesn't feel those feelings anymore. Doesn't have that,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And like that's an excellent way and I've never thought about it that way, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally like you died and you came back. And even I think that's what makes it, I don't know. And again, we're going to get in some heavy shit here talking about this, but if we
Yeah.
if this hasn't already gotten fucking heavy for some of you.
Well,
Uh
yeah, yeah.
but
I mean, geez.
I guess the thing that I struggled with, right? And like I ran through the typical thing of like I got out, went through a brutal fucking divorce about 15 seconds after I signed my papers.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and then it was just a shit show of like trying to find my way in the world and figure out what was going on and what I was going to do and what I was going to do with my life and stuff and a
Hmm.
lot of missteps and all this. But there were times, right? And for me, I never felt like I've never been the type of person that I've always been caught in the middle, right? Like I'm not the type of person to kill myself. Like I definitely thought about it, especially after my ex-wife did what she did and stuff. Like I had the gun
Mm.
cock thing, right? I had that happen.
Yeah.
Um, very similar scenario, but I couldn't do it, and it wasn't like oh I'm scared to. It's just like this. I just couldn't bring myself to do it for some reason. I can't explain why. But then you're caught in this like you want to die, but you can't kill yourself. So then you're caught in this weird limbo of like I can't kill myself, but I can't die, and I don't want to live.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
what do you do? And so you're not saying one's worse or better than the other, but it's just a miserable existence of purgatory of like you're trying to find things to kill you, but you can't
Mm.
kill yourself. So then you're like, you know, it's just stupid stuff. Like you stop taking care of yourself, you stop eating right, you stop sleeping right, you stop taking care of yourself in general. You isolate yourself. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like and it's the same for a lot of traumas. You know, like someone who's
Oh
in a
yeah.
mental health crisis, they do the same thing. You start
Yeah.
really changing your behavior patterns. You know, if you love running and then all of a sudden you stop it completely, or if your favorite thing in the world is your pet and then all of a sudden you give away your pet, like we all start doing the same thing. And then even though we're not in the thick of it, we still do some things. Like I'm guilty of like just completely isolating myself. Like I
Yeah.
just ghost and I'll
Yeah.
disappear, you know, and then you won't find me. I promise you, you won't find me. Just self
Hmm.
care goes completely out the window, and it's the energy it takes to pull yourself out of it. Sometimes you just don't have it. You know what I mean? And like
Pit of despair.
it's like being in quicksand sometimes. That's the best way I explain it
Yeah.
to some people
Too
is
tight,
that the
bro.
more you wiggle and struggle to try to free yourself out of it, the more you sink into it. So then you
Yeah.
get in this mode where you just lay there and you wait to die.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah. You,
someone is
yeah.
going to fly over and notice you and pull you out. One of the two is going to
Yeah.
happen, but you're basically just waiting for death. And
You're in limbo.
people like
Yeah.
us, we're used to death. So
Yeah. You
dying is
face it
not a
every day.
fear for me. Like
No.
I will stare death in the face and just watch it happen.
Hmm.
And honestly,
Yeah.
it'll be a relief in a lot of ways and
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm not scared of it anymore. There was
No.
a time in my life where I was terrified of dying. Now
Hmm.
it's terrifying to lose. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard again, it's hard to explain and some people get it and some people don't, but the whole
Hmm.
concept of self-sacrifice, right? Of diving,
Yeah.
you know, we joke about it and we're like, "Oh, he really dove on a
Yeah.
grenade," right? But if you've never been in a scenario where you have sacrificed yourself, because that's the thing, like it's not a what if, right? Like
Yeah.
your scenario of protecting your one guy, right? And you want to be the one, like I can't tell you how many times I've felt that way and talked to someone of like when I was team lead, squad lead, platoon sergeant, all of that, I
Hmm.
wanted to be the first one into the house. I wanted to
Yeah.
be the first one around the corner. I wanted to be the
Hmm.
first one in the front because the
Yeah.
concept was is that I would take the hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
That's
take
brilliant.
it, and then they would make it out, right? They would be able to see or react or do something. But if somebody was going to take the hit, it was going to be me
Me. Yeah.
and nobody
100%.
else. I did not
Yeah.
ever want that to happen. And so
Mm.
it made not being able to do that very hard because
Yeah.
like there were times when you got sent back on leave or you got pulled off for some other stupid stuff. And so they would
Yeah.
go on ops and missions and like I know my guys could handle it. Like there was no question in my
Yeah.
mind. Like they're fine. It's just that
Mm.
if someone was going to die, I wanted it to be me. And what's
Yeah.
hard is that when you get out of the military, you still have that same mentality. So when you get close to
Mm.
people, it's hard not to carry that over, especially if you get in relationships and you have kids and all this other stuff too. It just becomes this
Yeah.
like you're this guy running around looking for a grenade to jump on half the time. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
struggle to know that you're never like you don't ever want it to happen, but like in a moment, like there won't be a ounce of hesitation.
No.
You know, and like that's that's the thing to someone who can't understand that or hasn't been in a scenario like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, Wooly. Yeah, exactly. And self care goes out the window. And Wooly's talking about just not eating and feeling that way, and like you didn't
Yeah.
deserve to eat, and you don't deserve good things. You don't deserve
Yeah.
happiness, and you don't
Yeah.
like. It's that self sacrifice, right? Like it's the mom not eating so her kids have a meal. You're not gonna
Yeah.
pull out from that pool of happiness because it's wasted on you. Like
Yeah.
don't waste your happiness on me. Give it to somebody who deserves it. Give it to
Yeah.
somebody who has a chance because I'm lost. I'm
Yeah.
gone. Like,
Yeah.
carry on
There's
without
no
me.
chance. Yeah.
Here's my ammo. Here's my food. Here's my weapon. Just keep
Yeah.
going,
Leave me.
right?
Yeah.
Leave me, right?
I'm
It's
dead
that
weight.
attitude. I'm dead weight.
Hmm.
Don't kill yourself over me.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't waste your time. Yeah.
and that is the most terrifying and worst place in the world to be ever. And like you can go
Yeah.
into that mode so easy and
Hmm.
it's so hard to get out of it. And it's like that suit scenario I was talking about of like
Yeah.
it takes just getting up in the morning takes energy. Making it through the demons at night takes energy.
Hmm.
Making it through what you've already got to handle, it takes energy. But then if you have a
Hmm.
job or family or something, right, where you got to put on one of those suits and you got to go out for 8 hours a day or 14 hours a day or however long you're working a day, right? You got to wear that suit and you got to smile and you got to wave and you pretend like you're a normal person and like you don't have demons and like all this stuff isn't going on, right? And so that
Yeah.
starts draining your battery and draining your battery and draining your battery. So when you come home, your battery is at like quarter, there's a quarter of it left.
Mm.
And so
Hmm.
you have a choice, right? If you have a family, you can spend that battery on your family. But then
Yeah.
self care, gone.
Yeah.
If you have no family, but then you have other things that you're trying to do, then you use the battery on that. But it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too a lot of times it seems, right? Like the
Yeah.
part self care is the last thing that we think about when it comes to
Hmm.
like what I'm gonna use my battery for. Like
Oh yeah.
and that's the scary, sad part of it is if you let that kind of stuff happen, right? Then you slip into it, and then it takes a full battery to get out of it, and you don't have
Hmm.
a full battery,
No.
and so you're in this just endless cycle of like, how the fuck do I get out? Like you know what you got to do, you know how to get
Yeah.
out of it, you just can't
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're in
Yeah.
quicksand.
Yeah. You don't have the energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like
That's yeah.
you're
That's
just tired and exhausted
yeah.
and you can't ever seem to get enough sleep and you can't ever seem to feel energetic and you remember what it was like
Hmm.
to feel that way, to
Yeah.
feel
Yeah. Yeah.
energy and to you know
Yeah.
what right feels like, you just
Yeah.
can't,
Get it
you
back.
know you're so far off of it, right,
Hmm.
that
Oh yeah.
you're just like, well fuck, and then it's that scenario you're caught between that, well I can't ever give up, but honestly I might as well because I'm so far away from I'm off the map, I don't even know where I am. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I know where I need to go, but I'm so like, and like that's what terrifies me in a lot of ways is get it because I have over the last 10 years I started out in that zone. I started out in that exhaustion where you just don't sleep. You eat like shit. You don't take care of yourself. You're
Hmm.
depressed. You're moody. You're just a bump on a log, right? Like you just
Hmm.
lay there. You're just like this gooey patch on the ground, right?
Hmm.
and you're a bummer to be around. Nobody wants to be around you because you're just like Debbie Downer. Everything about you is just oozes depression, right?
Everything negative.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just negative. You just do all the shit that no one should ever be doing if they want, to
Yeah.
get out of it. And it just sucks, man. And then, finally you do like a Hail Mary, right? Like where you just like, God, I got to do something. And for me, luckily that was like MMA. So I got into MMA, and
Yeah.
luckily, and physical activity in a lot of ways helps a lot of people because you can just destroy yourself in the gym,
Mm.
or
Oh yeah.
work or something, and it takes your mind out of it. But even during that, right? Like those hours at night when I couldn't work out anymore. I'd already worked out 2 hours that or 2 times that day, and I'd already trained for another five. Right, like my body
Yeah.
literally can't go anymore. And what
Yeah.
when I should have been able to sleep, I couldn't. And so
Mm.
then now I'm tired, I'm weak, and I have no energy to fight back, and the demons are still coming.
Yeah.
And I think
It don't work.
what I wish I'd had, right? And this is what Squirrel and I were talking about yesterday too, was that when you had the team, when you had your squad, whatever your peer group was, right? And even outside the military, everyone, you have your friends. It's that the way I equate it to is the Hangover. It's that five group of friends that are just like they ride or die.
Yeah.
They do everything together. They know everything about each
Yeah.
other,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
even when they go through the shittiest of life things, they get each other through it, right?
Hmm.
Like they have their own issues, but at the end of the day, when somebody has a fucking problem, they figure it out. And
Yeah.
like even the worst problem isn't that bad anymore, right? Like
Hmm.
that support you had, right? Either if you're in the military or whatever you've got outside of the military. But when you are alone and away from the military, you don't have that anymore. And even though you may stay in touch, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's never the same, right? And so that's the hard part is I wish, and to everyone that's in that mode right now, right? You're in that mode. And literally what I just said is like, you just ticked off every red flag that you have
Hmm.
and you just said, yep, that's me.
Yep. Yep.
What I wish I had had in that moment is that network, like that someone who understands what I'm going through. You don't even need to talk about it, and they just grab you and pull you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I just need you to save me, grab me,
Hmm.
and pull me out.
Yeah.
And you're not. Sometimes you don't even know how to pull yourself out, and you just need somebody to come by and pull you. And then once
Hmm.
you're out, you can be mad at them, you can do whatever the fuck you want to them, but you're not in it anymore. And then you can start.
Yeah.
The haze falls off. But
Hmm.
there's so many people out there that are in that quicksand or keep getting into that quicksand,
Yeah.
and that's what like the grumpy bear thing was about. That's what trying to do this is about. But like also too of just if creating and it again it doesn't I don't want it to be me or I want it to be just a general thing of like if you've got somebody who's in quicksand and they're in quicksand or they're hinting at that they're in the quicksand,
Mm.
having people available to pull people out, and it's
Yeah.
hard, right? Because it's not that simple. It's not like, oh yeah, let me just swing over to your house, elephant, and I'll just grab you and pull you out. Like, bro, you're
Yeah.
literally across an ocean from me. I can't do
Yeah.
that. Right. So
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I'm just going to ping you on Twitter. I'm going to ping the shit out of you. Like, okay, that's not the same. And so
Yeah.
it's, you almost need to create we used to call it, oh, fuck. What did you call it? Not Redcon. QRF. Right. I don't know
Mm.
whether you called it on your end. Wooly says he read at night to Great Depression. That the anxiety was
Yeah.
hard to manage. I would self-destruct. Since I dealt with it by myself, I try so hard to be there for others. See, and that's
Yeah.
the danger though too, right? And that's the thing, and that's one of the things that I struggle with in addition to, right? If you haven't noticed this about me as well. So sometimes it's that giver mentality, right? That
Hmm.
self-sacrifice. And so you are in a state of crisis, right? Like you are in the fucking quicksand and you're going to give your last breath to save somebody else. And you'll
Yeah.
keep doing it and you'll keep doing it and you'll keep doing it and you will
Hmm.
sink below the surface and you'll be lost forever because you spend all your waking breath trying to save somebody else. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the most dangerous things also is that you're doing a noble act, you're doing a good thing and you're caring about somebody else. but it's the self-care part of it that's getting missed. You're not
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself. You would rather take care of others because it's back to that same thing we were talking about of like, don't waste your happiness on me. It's wasted
Yeah.
on me. I'm too far gone. But here,
Mm-hmm.
I can help you. Take what I have and be happy. All
Yeah.
right? At least somebody's going to be happy with it, right? And it's that
At least someone else is gonna make it.
exactly. And you're finding another grenade to dive on. And like
Yeah.
that's the danger. And if you're one of those types of people, you have to remember to be mindful of that. Is
Yeah.
that you always have to leave at least a little bit in the tank to pull yourself out of it. Or if it's not you that pulls out of it, that's when you go into that self care. And one of the things that I do in some of the training that I take part in is that like so there's a thing called a self care plan, right? And basically, you basically write down what you know happens every time you go into this shit, right? Like, this is what happens. I start isolating myself. I start helping others more than I should. I start, all the different red flags, right? So you write them all down and you know what they are. You already know what they are, but you're just going to write them down. And then you
Yeah.
basically create a plan. So when you get in that mode, it's like an action plan. So the second, all right, red flag number one, I need to start doing this. I need to reach out to Elephant, or I need to reach out to Chuck and be like, hey man, I'm just having a like have that pre-existing network. You have a network that you know you're going to reach out to, whether they know it or not. You start to do, but it's those things that it's creating that saving yourself mode. It's setting up,
Yeah.
it's putting on the life jacket. So
Mm-hmm.
even though you're trying to save somebody else, you've got the life jacket on. You won't go under. And so
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things that we all have got to do that even I need to do better at is you gotta, and it sounds dumb, guys. It's trust me, I know it sounds fucking stupid as hell, but truthfully, if it's like I don't know, Elephant, I don't know how it is on your end, but like every
Mm-hmm.
building you go to that's a public entity has got the fire escape plan on the wall.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
published. It's got literally, it sounds fucking stupid. And it's like, who's a fucking moron that can't figure out how to get out of a building? And it literally has a red line that traces where you are and how the hell to get out. And 9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
it's next to the door and it's just like, go forward. Right.
Yeah.
But that level of that is what we've got to do no matter what where you're at. Like whether you're in a
Yeah.
crisis, whether you're a veteran, whether you're a first responder, you're law enforcement, you're
Mm-hmm.
just somebody who walked down the street and was at the wrong place at the wrong time, whatever kind
Yeah.
of trauma we've got. But like that's
Mm-hmm.
what we've got to do
Yeah.
because otherwise you know yourself better than anybody else. And even though you can have some good friends that can see some stuff, you're going to know before they do.
Yeah.
And so to
For sure.
have a fire escape plan of your own. So
Yeah.
when you smell the smoke,
Mm-hmm.
I got to, oh shit, I'm starting to get kind of depressed. I really need to kind of,
You're going to
do
get out.
this, whatever it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever that thing is. Is it reading? Is it yoga? Is it video games? Is it come talk shit on Chuck's stream? Whatever the hell it is, like,
Yeah.
but knowing that's what you do when that happens, because if you don't have
Yeah.
the fire escape plan, you'll get back into that mode again. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's a 50-50 that somebody's going to fly over and see you. It's like
Yeah.
being lost at sea in the raft. You're in a big orange
Yeah.
raft, bro, but the ocean is large. And even though
Mm.
there may be people who fly over you, they may not see you.
Yeah.
And so
For sure.
it's leaving those breadcrumbs to be able to help you in that mode.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too to think about is that it's not something that you cure, right? It's not
No.
like a disease that you just take a medication and it fixes it. You're always
Doesn't
going to
cope.
have these things, right? But you learn to cope and you learn strategies that help you, right? And you create an environment and a network even of people that understand like, hey man, just going to let you know I may reach out to you in the future. Like if I'm having a rough day, I may just come chat with you, you know? And to be aware too, because I think that was one of the things I struggled with. And I don't know if you guys, again, I'm going on a tangent, but so one thing I struggled with is I was in, like, say I was in quicksand mode, right? And I'm struggling to try to get myself out of it. And then I encountered someone else that was in the same scenario. And so it was
Mhm.
dangerous for me in a lot of ways to interact with those people because they would pull me back down even
Back in.
further,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like by trying to help someone else, I've actually hurt myself more. And
Yeah.
I'm reliving or I am making what I have uh worse. And so
Back to square one again. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like lifeguards, like they always
Mhm.
have the little buoy thing. It's like swimming out to go
Yeah.
save somebody without the buoy thing. Like
Yeah, tricking it away. Mhm.
you don't have that backup to keep you afloat. And because that's the other thing too, and they always teach you in lifeguarding is that like you don't let the person pull you under. Like sometimes
Yeah.
the best way to save the situation is to push that person back under and get them to let go of you and then try to save them again. And like
Yeah.
I think that's something that we don't think about either is that
Mhm.
so we've talked about survivor guilt. We've talked about diving on grenades and being out
Yeah.
there to like try to go save others to cope with our own
Mhm.
problems. But to
Mhm.
know too, it is acceptable to back away from somebody to get yourself back in a safe position on solid ground and then go back
Mhm.
out and try to save them again. But if
Yeah.
you are trying to save that person and get pulled under, then you're both going down.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we just don't think about. And we're easier it's easier to just dive in whole hog, you know what I mean? And just be like, hey, I'm just gonna help you. Like, go on without me. I'll save you. You're imagine you're underneath and you're just like slipping beneath the water or the sand, and you're just pushing them up with the last little bit you've got. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but the thing is, you're both not gonna make it out. It seems
Yeah.
like you're going to, but you're not, because that person's gonna
Yeah.
slip. Because after you're gone, there's gonna be nobody else to pick up the
They've
slack.
got nothing else. Yeah.
So it's or another way to look at it is when the airlines do the oxygen mask thing and they're like make sure you put your own oxygen mask on before you help anybody next
Yeah.
to you.
Before I do everybody else's. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same concept because if you go down, who's going to save them?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest pill to swallow in a lot of ways, right? Is that the last person you want to try to help in some situations is yourself. I'll tell you,
Mhm.
when I'm in that depressed mode, right, of that just like feeling like shit, I don't deserve anything. The last thing I want to do is like take care of myself. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like fuck this, man. I'm just gonna wait to see. Hopefully, I could die or something. Maybe I'll get
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
You get in
Yeah.
that
And like
mode of like, man, I'm not gonna say I want to die, but if I did today, it probably wouldn't be a terrible thing. Like
if a truck comes now, I won't say no. I won't say no.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
I'm like,
embrace it.
if a meteor just came down today and just took me out,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain.
I
Like
go down smiling. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like I'm not gonna complain about it at all. That
Mhm.
like that mode, right? And like some of us live in that mode,
Yeah.
right? Like I
I do.
lived in that
I do.
mode for like 8 years, 8 straight
Yeah.
years, and I still dip into it, right? I'll have
Oh
like
yeah.
rough times and get right back into it.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. Like again, I full disclaimer, I'm a dive on a grenader, but I would rather it hurts me and it hurts my heart to think that there are people out there and people I know who are suffering so bad that that's what they live in every single day of their lives. And
Mhm.
I want to give so much to those people. Like I time, energy, like whatever it is, like I am compelled to try to just be there. And I
Mhm.
think that's something I struggle with. It makes why it just hurts me so much that and I know, like I know the feeling. I've fucking been there. I'm like one of those people who's a
Mhm.
recovering drug addict, and then you start
Yeah.
like the what do they call them, peer support counselors.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
did drugs for 20 something years, and you quit drugs, and then now you basically run
And now
around
you're
and teach
helping
people how
others.
not to do drugs.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of where I'm at. Is that
Yeah.
yeah, I could definitely start doing drugs again in a heartbeat, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
in a heartbeat, because that
Mhm.
it's honestly it is kind of like being addicted to drugs. Is that depression and mental health is the same concept of you're always going to have the draw, you're always going to have the addiction, it's always going to be fucking present, and you'll know what it feels like, and you know what it
Yeah.
feels like to slip into it. But then you
Oh
can
yeah.
either be on one side of it or the other, and you're going to have relapses, and you're going to have remission, and you're going to have all that stuff. But
Yeah.
knowing it, right, and then having people who are out there to help with it too. I think again, I'm
Yeah.
spitballing because again, I'm not even on the other side. Like I would say if there's a halfway point, I'm like one notch above the halfway point. Like that's where I would put me. And it's been
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
And I could like I don't know. I could go back in a second. It
Yeah.
could flip. And I think that's what scares me a little bit sometimes too is that you're so vulnerable in some ways. Like you're so strong in
For
so
so
many
true. Yeah.
ways, right? Like what the experience you've been through, Elephant and Wooly, and everybody out there, the experiences you have been through have made you into this just solid piece of iron. But at
Hmm.
the same, in the same concept though, you're all so fucking fragile that,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm not saying you're weak.
Mm.
It's just like we're
No.
all so fragile in that it doesn't take much to just go right down it again.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And like that's why raising the awareness and like when I say, and I mean this, and it's not just me diving on a grenade, if you are ever in quicksand or you feel yourself getting into quicksand, reach out to me, please.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. For
don't
sure, man.
even
Yeah.
wait.
For sure.
Don't
No.
even,
Yeah.
like, you don't even have to say shit. I will sit there
Yeah.
in silence with you for hours if we have to.
Yeah.
But,
No,
like,
man.
don't
It's
ever,
yeah.
ever, ever get in that zone like I was or like you described where you're going to take your own life or you're going to
Mm.
let yourself just sink beneath the surface and say fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm going to just make sure everybody can, or you start doing. I'll tell you something I started doing, and I being on the other end I didn't realize was how bad I got until I noticed this. One thing that a lot of people do when they start getting really depressed and they get in a mental health crisis is start giving away all their shit.
Yeah.
I did that, man. Like I had moved, I'd gone through my divorce, I came back, and then I had like and I did it in a way that was sneaky to where I didn't notice it and nobody else noticed it. But looking
Mm.
back on it, I know now.
Yeah.
So I had moved from one end of the United States to the other. So I had all this stuff just sitting in the garage that I wasn't using, right? Like TVs, a whole house worth of stuff. And
Yeah.
so I was just going to people and being like, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? Like, I'm not using it. Go
Yeah.
ahead. And I kept giving away my life. I was giving away
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Everything you
I
worked for.
was,
Everything that was you.
everything that was me was gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, I'll tell you, this is what I would do. I would stay up until about 6 o'clock in the morning every day. And then I would sleep until about 4. And then I would get up and I would go and get like some ridiculously large meal at a fast food place, go back into my room, eat it, then play video games till 6 o'clock in the morning. Just keep doing that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I
That's such a
wouldn't
cycle.
wouldn't interact with anybody, wouldn't try to do anything different.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go out. I wouldn't like that was it. And so I just I would not sleep. I would not. I would sleep during the day a little bit like cat naps, but I wouldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And I could. Well, it wasn't. I wouldn't. I couldn't.
You couldn't. Yeah.
Um, and I even tried. Like I blasted it. Like I tried. I tried to do like sleeping
Everything.
pills. I tried melatonin. I tried like
Yeah.
you go on the internet and it says take all the blue lights out of your room and all that stupid crap. None of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that's crap. That's all a load of shit.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
And
Nah.
like that was the struggle. And like people would come to me and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" And it wasn't one of those like, "Hey, are you okay?" It was like, "Hey, are you okay?"
Yeah.
Like they
Like
know I'm fucked up, but they're trying to be
get.
nice about
Yeah.
it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and of course I'm like, yeah, man, I'm good. What are you talking about? And I could laugh and I could fake it, right? Like I could
Yeah.
fake
Oh
enough to
yeah.
where they're like, oh, he's good. He's just kind of
Yeah.
down in the
Yeah.
dumps. I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, man. I'm telling you,
You're in a bad place.
I was waiting
Oh,
for death.
like. Yeah.
Like I needed that truck to hit me. I needed
Yeah.
that
I need that
meteor.
meter right. Yeah.
And here's the thing, man. And I guess this is a way for us grenade divers to look at it. Is that
Hmm.
if you're in that mode where you're waiting for death, right?
Yeah.
And death starts coming for you, right? Like you're in a car or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes you might be bringing people into that scenario that don't need to be there because
Yeah.
you're relishing death. You're waiting for it. But
Mhm.
maybe you're a bus driver and maybe steering into steering towards the cliff is not the day because you've got 14 passengers on board, or maybe
Yeah.
you're someone who has a job that has to be very attentive to something or else mistakes will happen. And the
Mhm.
danger of it is that when you get in those modes, and it's not something that you think about, right? Because you really don't. But even in a workplace where, like if you're in shipping or receiving or like you're putting stuff together or just general worksite safety, when you're in
Yeah.
that mode where you're like waiting for something to just come get you, you're not being as safe as you could be, right?
No.
And when you're like that, and it's the same thing as being on a fire team, right? If you're on a
Yeah.
fire team, you need everybody zoned in. You need
Uh-huh.
everybody paying attention because it just takes that
Mhm.
one guy to not be paying attention or to nod off or to not be there in that moment. And then you get everybody killed.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of being in that zone that we don't think about, right? Because you're like, oh, we're not hurting anybody. It's just going to be
Mm.
me. It's
Yeah.
not true. It's not true at all. You could, in theory, depending on what happens, hurt other people by you just embracing whatever's going on. And like
Yeah.
that's one way to kind of cognitively restructure it is that
Mhm.
if you really are trying to go out with a bang and but at the same time protect everyone around you, you can't do
Yeah.
that. You want
No.
it's a contradiction. You can't go out like that because then you're putting other
Mhm.
people in harm's way.
Yeah.
So, again, everybody needs that little spark, that reason why I can't do this or why I need to do this. That's
Mhm.
another way to look at it is that if let's say, you're just not being safe and you let the whole platform fall on you that you're loading up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a chance that there's somebody right next to you and you kill three people because your unsafe ass just was like, oh, well, I guess I won't tie it up as tight as I need to and maybe it'll kill me. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, guess what, bro? You just killed yourself and four other people, and that those three of them have families. So good job,
Mhm.
man. You just went out with a bang and took out your karma is shit now.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, man. It's tough, and it.
Yeah.
I think
For
one of the
sure.
stigmas out there is that it's just this. It's like a cold where you just take some vitamin C and feel better.
It goes away in a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just give it time, man. You'll feel better.
Yeah.
It'll
You
be all
get
right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though, is that one, telling somebody it'll be all right, yeah, it's not helping at all. Or
Not alright.
the thing that people told me was time heals all wounds.
Yeah. Fucking
You know how
yeah.
many fucking times somebody told me that? And like,
Time heals all wounds. Yeah. Fuck. Right
give
off.
it time, you'll feel
Mm.
differently. And
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck you, man. I am literally waiting to die as we speak in this conversation. And you're
How
telling
about
me,
breaking
give
every
it some
damn nail?
time. Yeah. And so
Give it time.
yeah, give it time. Like, well, fuck, that's what I'm doing. I'm hoping I die real quick, like,
Yeah. Fuck, you just killed me already.
yeah. And time, like, time
Uh,
heals. Like, there's a whole second part of that, though, is time heals wounds when you work on the wound. Like, it takes
yeah.
time to get to where you need to go, not time itself does anything. Because if you just sit on your ass or if you're in quicksand, the only thing that's going to happen is you're in quicksand. Nothing's going to change. You have to do something to pull yourself out of it. You have to gauge, tap into that self care plan. You have to do something, and like that was the thing. And the MMA thing for me was the jumping off a cliff moment, right? Like that was my Hail Mary of like, look, at least I'll get to hit something and somebody can hit me, you know? And so that was the thing that drew me out of it. And then, of course, it got me in a network where I was socializing with people. I didn't have a choice. And then, that kind of helped me. And then that got me to the next step, to the next step, next step. But I had to almost like breadcrumb myself out of it of like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to go do it. And then I did it. And then it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go do the next thing. And then I did it. And then
Yeah.
finally, it was like I tricked myself into getting out of the quicksand. But it
Mm.
doesn't work for everybody, and like I'm
No.
not saying that's the way to do it. That's just the way I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
Um, and like I remember, I'll tell you, I would go. I have never been one of those people that goes to like clubs, right? Like nightclubs.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had some people take it like they're like, hey, we should go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night, right? So I remember getting in these clubs and just literally standing there, and like the music's on, and I'm just standing there, like I didn't even know what to do with myself. Like I didn't feel like talking to
Yeah.
anybody. I didn't want to dance. I didn't like so I'm just sitting there drinking and nursing a drink that's like $8 or $10, and I'm just sitting there like, fuck, I could have done like I just want to go home. Like this is
Yeah.
miserable. Like fuck this. I'm like I could just be at home alone and I would be better than this. Like I feel more alone in this club full of people than I do at home.
Yeah.
And like that was like, what is with this? You know, like I don't. What are people? And you would see the same sad people in there every Friday and Saturday
Mhm.
night. It's always the same fucking
Yeah.
people,
S-
and they're all
Yeah.
doing this. They're all hitting on the same people, and they're all leaving with the same people, and they're all doing the same thing. And it's like this
Yeah.
endless track. It's like one of those toy trains that kids get on that are on the tracks.
Yeah.
It just
Mhm.
kept going around and around. They'd go to work, they'd work until Friday, get off, and then go be their club self, and then go
Yeah.
back to it. And I would see those same people like working in the mall and like
Mhm.
working in the restaurants in town and stuff, just making enough
Yeah.
money to get by until Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like,
Just waiting to die. Yeah.
fuck that. Like, fuck this, man. Like, it was miserable. And like, I couldn't like that depressed me, and then I was already depressed from the military stuff and then from that divorce too, and so it was just like, all right, I gotta do something. So that's when I went to college. Well, thank you, Bryson, for the gifting the tier 1 subscriptions. I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. But yeah, I guess, Elephant, if there was one thing, right, and again, we're all struggling, so it's not it could be a
Yeah.
message to your. Here's a two-parter, actually. So
Right.
one, you from like 5 years ago, if you could tell yourself one thing, right, or
Mhm.
you, depending on the timeline, 2 years ago, whatever is relevant, if you
Mhm.
could tell yourself one thing, that person then, knowing what you know now, what would it be? And then, if there was one thing, if you knew somebody who was in the thick of it right now, and they're just sitting there on the other end of this chat, and they're like, everything we're talking about is hitting home. Everything they're like, yeah, that's fucking me. That's me right the fuck now. You're talking about that was you. Like that's me right now.
Mhm.
What would you tell yourself and that person?
Right. Well, I'll do it backwards. I'll start with number two
Okay.
first. I'll go on for the other person. So if it was somebody else in this position, sat on the other side, um, it would definitely be well, from now I know, don't do what I do. What I like to say, what I keep myself to myself. I do whatever. I bottle up and do all that. I don't do that. For sure. As much as you might think it's the best way to go about it, um, bottling up until as somebody told me, until the bottle breaks and then it all overflows, and then you just scoop it all back up and you put in a fresh bottle till it does it again. Um, pour some out. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's
Yeah.
just brimming to breaking, before it breaks, pour some out. Talk to somebody about whatever, whether it's something that's affected you 2 months ago, whether it's something that's affected you 2 minutes ago. Just pour some out of that bottle before it breaks. Um, like keep that bottle full if you want, but not full so it's gonna break and you're gonna back to square one, scoop it up again, put it in another bottle, and just rebuilding yourself constantly.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely speaking to somebody who has been on the same level, been through the same shit as you, is definitely the way forward to go. I understand that. Speaking to somebody is not just about, like I say, it's depends what works. You can speak to people about it and who don't know what you're talking about, and that's just fine because you need somebody to rant to, you need
Sometimes you
somebody
got to
to,
just get it out there. You don't even
yeah,
need
you
them
just
to
need
hear.
to spill it. No, yeah, you just need to spill it out. You just need to ramble at somebody. Me personally, I need to go through it. Like I need to go step by step through. This is what happened. This is what I think I could have done differently. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that what I did this day was enough. I couldn't save this guy and all that. Like I need that reassurance from someone who's been in the thick of it, who could actually tell me you did everything you can. There is no way you could have saved that guy. The reason that guy died was not your fault. That's what I need.
Yep.
I need that reassurance because of the level that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I was commanding these guys that had died. So I think that's my view on it.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the first part, the first question, what would I do 5 years ago before I joined the army and I went through all the thick of it and all the shit? I'd say do it again. I'd say do it again, but do it 10 times better, frankly. And that's all I'd say.
Yeah.
I know what's coming. I know what's going to happen. Just do it, but just do it 10 times better. You know how to do it, but do it better. There's always, as my sergeant once said through the art, that like you can give 110%, but there's always that 1% extra per day that you can give. You're learning it. You're learning every day. You're growing every day. So you give 110% today, give 111 tomorrow, give 112 the next day. You know, each day you learn, each day you grow. Add on that extra percent. Keep on, keep building yourself to thrive for something more. Like, don't ever think that 110% is your limit. That 110% is your max, but it's not your limit.
Yeah.
You can push past that. That is pushing past that threshold. Yeah. So you can give 110% one day. 10 years later, you can give 1,110%. You can give that extra. You can definitely give more.
Yeah.
It's always about pushing yourself.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's the thing is that, again, what you perceive you're capable of,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're actually capable of. And I have gone through it myself of just like what I thought I was capable of handling and what I
Mm-hmm.
was capable of handling and what I continue to be able to handle, right? Is if I had just to exactly what you said, if I had settled for less than that,
Mm-hmm.
then I would not be anywhere near where I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
And to just not, I think, what is it? I think it's Rocky or somebody. They talk about this hunger, right? Of how a lot of people, when they get surrounded by success, they lose the hunger that drove them to get to where they're at. And like that's the thing with a lot of like getting out of depression or dealing with, mental health challenges or even life challenges is that don't ever stop being hungry. Like
Yeah.
you've got to continually like if you've eaten all the fish in your school, then go bigger. Like
Yeah.
never just settle for shit, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
Never
the problem is
settle
when you
for enough.
settle. One way I was talking about with somebody the other day was it's kind of like airplanes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Airplanes are really fascinating things, right? They can fly, they do a whole bunch of cool stuff. They're really fascinating. There's a lot of
Yep.
physics involved, stuff like that. But the thing with airplanes is if airplanes do not fly on a regular basis and they go and they get set in the hangar, they start falling apart and they will lose the ability to fly. They will literally start like just shit will start going wrong constantly because they're not up and running. It's like your car. If it sits for like 5 years and you try to crank that bad boy, it's probably not going to fucking work. And it's the same thing with us as human beings is that if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't set your self care plans, if you don't push yourself past what you want to do when you slip into that depression, it's about making yourself feel uncomfortable. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And like that's the thing is that there's so many times in my life where I have forced myself to be uncomfortable because I knew that the alternative was to slip into something that was either to settle or that would make me slip deeper into where I was. And so it's that concept of, yeah, you don't want to take care of yourself, but guess what? You're going to push that extra effort. You're going to take that 111% and you're going to take that one little bar of battery you've got left for that day and do something to take care of yourself. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like it's that last little fight. And I remember I either heard it or I read it somewhere years and years and years ago, and something that always stuck with me. And it was somebody who was describing what makes an athlete, right? And an athlete, the difference between an athlete and someone that just is an enthusiast or someone that works really hard is that an
Mhm.
athlete, when they get in that situation where you are mentally and physically fatigued, like you're on a long run and you have finally gotten to that point where your body is screaming at you to stop and to quit and to just lay down and die, right?
Mhm.
And we've all been in this scenario in one way or another, be it physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever. It's that
Mhm.
moment where you want to lay down and you want to fucking die. And
Yeah.
mine is always in a combat. Like I have had moments in combat where I was either in pain or I was
Mhm.
scared or I was it's like something was happening where everything in me told me to stop. And
Mhm.
you push past it. You push through it and you go just a little bit further. And
Yeah.
that is what makes an athlete versus what
Mhm.
makes a normal person. And
Yeah.
that is what makes a successful person is that when you encounter that wall, instead of sitting there and laying down and quitting and crying because you've got a wall in front of you, you decide that even though you're fucking tired and even though you're exhausted and even though you want to quit and the world is against you and everything is going wrong, that you get the fuck up and you keep going and you keep pushing. And if you hit that wall, you go around it, you go under it, you blow it the fuck up, you climb over it, you get friends, you climb over it, you do fucking something. Because it's better to go down swinging and fighting for your last breath than to go out in any other way. Because
Mhm.
then you've just given in. And that's the difference. And that's how I view depression and that's how I view mental
Mhm.
health is that
Yeah.
none of us want to go out like a bitch, right? It's
No.
just not in us. We don't want to go out like a bitch. None of us, nobody wants to die like a bitch. And
Mhm.
so don't, like, fucking fight. Like, it's not always going to be a physical situation where you are fighting an enemy. You're fighting them off. You're firing your last rounds. Yeah. For most of us, that would be the perfect world ending, right? Of like, I'm going down and I'm taking all these motherfuckers with me, right? Like that would
Mhm.
be for most of us the mentality. But sometimes the enemy you're fighting isn't a person; it's yourself, or your depression, or your anxiety, or your fucking
Mhm.
your body. Like
Mhm.
sometimes you just have a disease that is wrecking you, or there's people with muscular dystrophy and there's people with all of these different medical conditions and mental conditions and all this other stuff. But like, I feel such a sense of pride and just fulfillment and seeing people rise above what they've got. Like that guy who can barely fucking walk, but he's out there like doing races or like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit just like makes me want to go climb Mount Everest,
Yeah.
because it's like, dude, the world has put everything against you. And for everyone struggling with mental health, it is the world is honestly fucking against you. Your own body's trying to fucking kill your ass, right?
Yep.
Like your mind is
Yeah.
trying to fucking make you quit. Your mind is
Mhm.
trying to make you fucking fail. And you need to
Yeah.
look into your mind and say, fuck off. Like, fuck
Yeah.
you.
For sure.
Like, you're not going to win
Mm.
today. You're not going to fucking win. And you fight till the next day. And then when that happens, you fight the next day. And when you start getting tired and you can't fight, you pull some other friends in and we'll kick their ass. But
Yeah.
like you keep fucking fighting. Like never
Yeah.
ever
Never let down.
stop fighting and never quit.
Mhm.
It's okay to
Yeah.
go down swinging and it's okay to go
Yeah.
down fighting. If you do, hats off to you and you have my undying
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah.
But
100%.
if you're one of those people that just gets that wall and lays down,
Lays down.
don't don't. Like I know it
Mhm.
sucks. I know
Never
it
don't.
hurts. It
Yeah.
always is going to hurt. Something in your life is
Mm.
always going to suck and it's always going to hurt. I promise you. And so it's that mentality of learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and learning to fight in no matter what the fuck it is. Like, and that's the thing. We always try to make it into this glamorous, elaborate thing. Like, oh my gosh, I have this mental disorder. Or I have this physical ailment. Sometimes it's just anxiety. Like
Yep.
sometimes it's a job interview where you're sitting there and you're so fucking anxious about trying to put your best foot forward to try to get out of your current station that you're stressed out about it. You know what? Fuck that. Go out there and just
Mhm.
be you. Like, here's the thing.
Mhm.
If you don't know it by now, you're not going to fucking know it. And they already have
Yeah.
a pretty much an instance of what they're looking for. So you either are or you aren't. So just go out there
Yeah.
and be the best you can. And like,
Yeah. Welcome.
fuck it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Oh, you don't get it?
Yeah.
Well, go get the fucking next one.
Exactly.
And we'll
Yeah.
keep doing it and we'll keep doing it
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
here's the thing, even when you encounter that wall, there is a way to get through the wall too. You can literally just keep ramming it until that wall
Yeah.
falls the fuck down. You know,
Yeah.
there's
Oh
always
yeah.
a way through, past, under, or around, right?
Doesn't matter how long it takes, you'll get through.
I think one thing though that honestly, you know, to the scenario I gave you, Elephant, of like if I could tell myself something in the past and then someone that's in that mode, and then honestly telling myself now, right? Because you tell
Hmm.
yourself stuff all day long till you're blue in the face, but then you're just like, ah,
Oh
whatever
yeah.
the fuck.
Yeah.
So me now, me past, and me present, and that person that's sitting in the chat right now going, holy fuck, this is me. What the fuck do I do? I'll tell you everything the Elephant said, absolutely. And everything we've been talking about, abso-fucking-lutely. But I think
Hmm.
also what I would say, and something that I continually fucking struggle with, and it is the thing that is my most glaring weakness, and it frustrates the fuck out of me. Letting other people help me.
Hmm.
That it is trying to fight through that mentality of leave me, let
Yeah.
me let me
Let me
die,
do this
or
alone.
let me
Yeah.
do this alone, right?
Hmm.
And it's not that, you know, sometimes I'm not saying that any of you are not capable of doing it alone, right?
Hmm.
Like there everyone is capable of doing it, okay? It's just, but here's the thing. It's that smarter not harder mentality of like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can fucking do it by myself, right? I can do most everything by myself. I am self-sufficient. I'm a fucking badass, all right? I can
Hmm.
fucking, there's not a single thing in this fucking world that I can't either read up, study, figure out, or whatever, right? If I really fucking had to, right? I have
Hmm.
stared death in the face more times than I can count, and I fucking won. And I have
Yeah.
tested my mettle against other human beings, and I'm still fucking here, all right?
Hmm.
So it's not a matter of I can't do it, but it's a matter of why. Why make shit harder than it has to be, right? And they're like, that's my thing, and like that's my, honestly, if I could leave everybody in this chat with something, it's that the stuff you're struggling with and that is so hard, it's not just your burden to bear. Like, I know it's easy to be like, I don't want to bother other people with it, I don't want other people to be drawn down with it,
Yeah.
but there's always going to be somebody out there that is able to carry the load with you. And it's like every other scenario out there is that, like, why carry it by yourself when you carry it with two people and you only have to deal with 50% of it? And like your bottle analogy, Elephant, like, if I can let a little bit out of the bottle and somebody's able to take it, and I make it through and they make it through and we both are better for it, then not only have I accomplished what I'm trying to accomplish, but I did it in a much more efficient fashion, and I can dedicate more stuff into it in the future.
Yeah.
And like, that's something that, as I'm sitting here saying this shit, I don't do, right? And it's
Yeah.
hypocritical of me, but like, it's not the lack of knowledge, right? I know what I need to be doing, and I know what I
Hmm.
need to do, right? And I
Yeah.
know how to get there. It's just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. So if I could leave everybody with that, it's just like, don't, I know it sucks, and I know it's uncomfortable, and I know it's awkward, and it's fucking weird, but if you let people help you,
Yeah.
right? And like, be the kind of person that can humble yourself enough that, yeah, you're always going to do it better if you do it yourself, right? Like, hands
Hmm.
down, like 100%. I'm a perfectionist in a lot of different ways. I can promise you, if I do it myself, it'll be better than letting somebody help me, right?
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like a really dick way to say it, but like, it's true, right? Like, you know, and that's the thing. It's just easier if you do it yourself, because then you don't have to
Yeah. Oh
entertain
yeah.
and deal with somebody else.
Yeah.
But you grow as a person, and it's the
Hmm.
team mentality, is that we all win together or we all lose
Hmm.
together. And
Yeah.
so why die alone when you can die
Yeah.
with friends? You know?
Hmm. While led on takeaway, you can die fighting.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
like, that would be my takeaway. So I don't care what your background is, I don't care what you struggle with. It
Hmm.
applies to everything of,
Yeah. It's all the same.
you know, it's
It's
all
all the
in that
same.
same mentality of, if you have to
Hmm.
have that mentality of, it's that, and I know it's cliche, but it's that almost like warrior mentality of like, I
Yeah.
am going to die fighting,
Hmm.
or I'm going to fucking live forever.
Yeah.
One of the two is going to happen. I'm either going to live
Yep.
forever or I'm going to fucking die fighting. But I am
Hmm.
never going to quit. And I am never just going to lay down and die. Like, I might feel like it. And that's when that that self-care plan, that fire safety plan that we're talking about, that's when you
Yeah.
kick that in, man. That's like your,
Hmm.
if it's a Call of Duty, it would be your self-revive, right?
Yeah.
That's your Call
Your
of Duty
second
self
chance.
revive. You literally, when you are downed and you are dying and you know you're going out, that is your when you pull out that self revive and you stab that shit right into you, and you fucking move out, right? And it's okay if you get shot while you're self reviving. It's okay, man. That shit happens all the time. But you know what? You were still fucking self reviving and you were fighting,
Just keep going.
right?
Just keep going.
Right? Like that's the thing. And like that's what saddens me is that I see so many fighters out there, and I really entertain. I'm not a religious guy, but I like the concept of Valhalla because to
Hmm.
be surrounded by people who went down fighting or with the
Yeah.
warrior spirit is just a great
Hmm.
thing to me. But what
Yeah.
saddens me is that that mentality is not a prevalent one. That's not one in today's
Hmm.
society of I'm going to fight
Yeah.
and I'm going to keep fighting.
Sure.
It scares me, and even in the veteran community and outside of like in the mental health world too. Of
Hmm.
it's just this is my lot in life. I'm just going to lay here and die. And while I've been there, it just saddens me that that fighting spirit is not something that is frequent.
Yeah.
And so to help someone build it or to empower someone and like have that moment, like that's the thing, man. And so, yeah, it's it's tricky. It's a challenge.
Yeah. No.
But again, it's I think there's a thing there's another concept in the mental health stuff that they do, and it's that they want to so asking somebody basically, are you going to kill yourself or are you thinking about killing yourself, right? That's something that nobody ever wants to ask that question, right? Because it's weird, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, you just don't want to say it. But
Yeah.
the concept of normalizing saying that, right? So that it does not, when you get in that scenario, it's a muscle memory concept of when you encounter a friend or someone, that it's not something that you've never said before. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So part of that training is they literally just sit there and say it a few times, right, to
Hmm.
normalize
Yeah.
it. And
Hmm.
so the intent behind and like what you do, Elephant, and what I'm trying to do here, and like what we're both trying to do with our communities and everything too, is
Yeah.
normalizing these kind of discussions, right? Because on
Hmm.
from the outside, it's just two guys bitching about stuff, right? But the
Yeah.
reality of it
Yeah.
is, it's multiple people with different life experiences, but very similar traumas across the spectrum. And
Yeah.
it's so easy. I myself, I don't talk about it to anybody. I honestly, the last two, I talked to Squirrel yesterday, and I talked to you today, Elephant,
Hmm.
about it. And those are the last two times I remember talking about any of this stuff pretty much for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And to sit there and think that you bottle some this shit up, and it's some heavy shit, like it's heavy,
Hmm.
heavy, heavy stuff. To bottle that up for 10 years and just let it sit there and be turning into cancer that whole time, like
Oh yeah.
that is terrible and it's the wrong fucking answer. And so,
Hmm.
if anything, just helping people learn from my mistakes of like, don't be me, don't
Yeah.
be me, and like help me help you help me, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
together by
Right.
trying to help others and to help each other, we're gonna pull each other out of our fucking slumps and start doing the
Yeah.
shit that we should be doing. Taking care of ourselves, taking care of others, helping other people feel normal about talking about traumas, and like Wooly and Mello and everybody sharing their experiences with life and stuff like that. Is that
Oh yeah.
being able to talk about it is a huge thing because it helps you get it out, right? It helps get some of that stuff out of your bottle, but also too, it's part of the healing process, man. You got to fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
hurts. It sucks. You're going to relive a lot of shit. You're going to have some nightmares. You're going to have follow up from this too, where you're just thinking about it, right?
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, after talking to you today and talking yesterday about it, it's a weight off.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like I've literally taken off a weight vest the last two
Hmm.
days, and
Hmm.
I'm not carrying as much. I'm still carrying it, but it's not as
Mm.
near as heavy as it used to be.
You've put your day sat down for a day. You've just got your yeah.
Yeah,
You've
exactly.
just
Right.
got
I
you've
took
just
my
got your
body
civvies
armor
on
off.
you.
It's like I took my bra off. I'm good to go.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. You just let it
the
all hang out,
girl, the
haven't
girls are hanging, man. It's good
you?
stuff. But like,
Down to knees, but they're chilling.
yo, and I'm telling you, Civilians out there, I wish you guys could understand the concept of getting back on base and taking your body armor off, because that feeling
Yeah.
is the best fucking feeling in the world.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and get taking your body armor off and then cracking your back right after it. Holy shit.
Oh fuck
That's
yeah.
better than sex, guys. I'm
Oh,
telling you. I've had
oh
some pretty
fuck
good sex in
yeah,
my life,
mate.
but that's way fucking better than
That,
sex.
that is yeah, fucking definitely. 100%,
Yeah, yeah.
100% true.
Like, true story, man.
Oh
But,
damn.
but, it's
That's
true.
the crack eye kind of one. That's the
That's
crack eye like.
that's it's fucking true, man. Yeah, and like that's the thing too, is that like it's just the simple pleasures, like the simple
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Like
It's the little things. It's the little things.
I'm trying to remember like the
Yeah.
little things that I enjoyed. Like I know this is bad, guys, and I've long since quit tobacco and smoking and stuff. But I'll tell you, the best thing was like just getting back off a mission, take off your fucking kit, crack your back, go out to like the smoke shack or wherever it was that you're at,
Mm.
and just have a cigarette with the boys,
About 10 folks.
and then just sit there and shoot the shit, right? Or just talk
Oh
shit,
yeah.
or or like you talk about some weird shit while you're smoking, like
Oh
just
yeah.
like some weird stuff, right? But
Hmm.
that when I think back, right, and like one of the things and something that we were talking with Stacks a little bit about too was like, can you remember the last time you were truly happy? Like, do you have a memory of it? Like, do you remember the last time? And that's one of the things that I struggle with too, is like
Mm.
just with the whole post traumatic stress disorder thing, and like there's
Yeah.
some theories about like your neural synapses get fried and all this other stuff, right? So you're not able to handle emotion as well as you used to from after trauma.
Hmm. Yeah.
But having not feeling happy like you're supposed to, right? Um,
No, yeah. I mean,
like something happens and you should feel joy from it, but you don't.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it saddens me because it's like, it's like when a flashlight doesn't work and you're like banging on it trying to make it work, and you're like, why does the light
Yeah.
not come on? Like, it's dark. I know you need to shine the light, but it doesn't come on.
Yeah.
That
It's like you
feeling,
can't find. Yeah.
and like then you start really like panic searching in your memory of a time when you were happy, right? And there's like certain little ones that trigger to me, and it's always like the little things of like that
Hmm.
cigarette, or
Hmm.
that time when we got the ice cream, like we managed to find some ice cream in the middle of the desert, that
Yeah.
kind of like little stupid shit like that. But those the last time that I remember my brain working correctly and letting
Yeah.
me
And
feel
being
the
truly
emotions.
happy.
not
Yeah.
not saying that I can't feel happiness, but it
Yeah.
definitely is not as easy. It's like
Yeah.
like you have to work at it, whereas before it was just like
Yeah.
hey, I feel happy, or I feel sad, or I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was something we were talking about, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's sad, it's interesting, but knowing that about yourself, I guess, too.
Oh yeah. For sure. I mean, it's just like you say. I think finding it, try to find that memory is like
Hmm.
is the main part. It's the main thing. Is try to get that memory. I mean, like you say. I mean, if I had the chance to go back, as much as I moan and complain about it, I'd
Hmm.
I'd go back in a heartbeat,
Yeah,
because
same.
I know the second that I go back, I'm back in my zone. This is where I feel happy. Like, staring death in the face. This is where I feel happy. This is my home. This is where I belong. Sort of thing. Like, as
Hmm.
much as I don't want to go back,
Yeah.
if I got that option tomorrow to fly out tomorrow and go back to Afghanistan, I'd take it, hands down, hand on heart. I'd take it, and I'd go back tomorrow straight away, because I knew I'd be happy. I know that I'll make me happy,
Yeah,
and
I
that's the
think
sad fact
that's
of it.
no, it's not. I mean, that's the thing though, man, is that like I 100,000% understand it, and to someone outside of that, it probably does sound crazy, and like the
Mm,
average person would sit there and go, "That's insane." Like, why would you
yeah,
want to do that? Like, knowing
no, that
everything
doesn't.
and like that's just
Hmm.
you're sick, you're twisted.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
no, dude. I mean, and I'll tell you right now, I definitely would be sucking because I don't take care of myself the way I used to, and I need to. Because that's the thing too, is like truly, if that opportunity came, right? Like I tell you right now, I'm in no condition to be able to go back right
Oh
now
yeah,
and be
yeah,
functional. I would go
yeah,
and I would be sucking,
mm,
but
yeah,
but that's the thing though too, is that I understand 100% what you're talking about because that is how I feel constantly. And like and I
Yeah.
feel guilty in a way too, right? Because
Yeah.
like I have a family now and I have a daughter and everything like that, right? And so
Mhm.
50% of me is like that's my life. But the other
Yeah.
50% of me is like, dude, if in a heart like there would not the paper the orders would not flutter to the ground before I would be on that bird over
Mhm.
there. And people are like, you've got a whole life and you've got a family to take care of and all this other shit. And like that's what makes you
Yeah.
guilty about it, right? Is because
Yeah.
part of you I think Squirrel said it yesterday, is that in trauma, but like also what we do is that there's a good chunk of you that's still there and it's been there.
Yeah.
You left it there, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're a drone, right? The real you is back there running a little
Mhm.
meat suit of yourself,
Yeah.
right? And you're living your daily life. Like, what's that movie with Bruce Willis, where they've got the android things? It's like that, man. It's like
Yeah.
that's that's how it feels because the last time, or like a game, another way to think of it too
Mm.
is the last save that you have,
Yeah. Your
right?
last
That you
checkpoint.
remember, your last checkpoint
Mhm.
was back there.
Yeah.
And you've been running this whole time without saving
And
up
that's all
until
you
then.
remember.
So the
Yeah.
last time that you remember anything, and if something happens, that's going to default back to that. And
Mhm.
like that's the sad thing, but also the thing that I 100,000% understand is that
Yeah.
that's exactly how it is. Is that
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like to just go back in a lot of ways
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Mhm.
So I don't know. There is an organization out there that it's like it's some vet organization that basically takes vets back to uh, the locations where they served in. So like
Mhm.
they would take you back to Afghanistan and let you
Yeah.
go to that. I mean, probably not Afghanistan because it's still a shit show over there, and Iraq is probably the same
Yeah.
deal. But in theory,
Probably.
like
Yeah.
for Vietnam vets, they take you to like Vietnam where you had like your battles and stuff to help you cope.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I always thought about that. I'm like, you're gonna let me go walk around Baghdad? You're gonna let
I
me
know.
go? You're gonna go let me sit at that house and door? I will tell you, there's about three
Yeah.
places I would love to go back and see. I would pray and hope
Oh
that the
yeah.
guys
Oh
made it through.
yeah. Oh no. There's a few places that I'd go back in Afghanistan. As much of a shit show it was, I'd go back and just sit and
Hmm.
just reminisce it. Dude, the shit I did here, like,
Yeah,
it's mad.
it's.
Definitely.
I used to never understand why old vets were very just quiet and
Mhm.
like to sit around and just stare into space in like scenic
Yeah.
environments, but I fucking get it
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
Like I get it, man.
Because
Like you
yeah. Oh
just sit
yeah.
on a mountaintop and stare out to sea and you just
Yeah.
sit there
There's
and think about
nothing.
all the crazy shit you've done. Like
Yeah. Nothing in the world can stop it. It's the most freeze feeling ever.
mhm.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I just yeah, like there's memories I have like first thing in the morning, like at 6 o'clock in the morning, the cool air, the cool but the warming air
Mhm.
as you're getting ready to go out on a mission. So you'd be out there and you'd be like smoking a cigarette. And so it was still that early morning coolness, but you could feel the heat rising. And it just that
Yeah.
feeling, right? And that
Mhm.
pause, like, 'cause you had these weird moments over there where like everything's going 100 miles an hour. And then all of a sudden you have this just pause where everything like just goes silent, right? And you
Yeah.
have this moment that nothing's happening.
Mhm.
And so it's those moments I think I remember the most of
Yeah.
just like sitting somewhere and smoking or like
Mhm.
sitting somewhere like it's always like sitting or hanging out or waiting to do something, but those are the
Yeah.
moments I remember the most because it
Yeah.
was like the chaos was at a pause.
Yeah. For once, like it was
Mm-hmm.
20. Like you say, it's 100 miles. It's 120 miles per hour. 24/7, and just for that, just that 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. But
Mm-hmm.
those 5 minutes was, yeah, just the
Well then I
most
think
bloody experience ever.
even outside of like being overseas there too though it was like weekends,
Mm.
right? When you had weekends and
Mm-hmm.
for some reason weekends just seemed to last like you did more.
Oh,
Like you
yeah.
would go out Friday night and do something. Saturday you would be doing something. You'd be doing something right up until time to go to bed on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now I swear I blink and it's Monday
The weekend's gone. Yeah.
and I have
Oh
done
yeah.
jack and shit except for look at
Yeah.
TikTok and maybe stream.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, dude, I used to fit in like a week's worth of shit into like one weekend, and now I farted, I took a nap, and now it's Monday again. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, I turned into like a person in an old folks' home. Like, what the hell? I'm worried about what kind of pudding we're gonna have later. Like, what the fuck? And so I'm just like,
Uh,
what happened? Right? And then like I remember literally just like even going to the mall was fun, right? Like going
yeah.
to a mall or something because you had like three or four dudes that you guys were just going around doing jack shit. Like you had nothing to do.
Yeah.
You were just wandering around, but you were
Mm-hmm.
having fun and you were happy and you didn't feel alone and you didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
depressed. Or if you did and you had a bad fucking day or something, dude, they cured you of that
Nah.
shit in about 15
Oh yeah.
minutes. Like after that, you were in the zone. You were with the boys, and that feeling is one of the ones that I have sadness for because I haven't had that feeling in so long. And like one of the things that I like about GBM and hanging out with everybody too, you know, and with the streaming world is that you're kind of it's like a virtual version of it, right? It's still not the same, but
Mm-hmm.
to have people that you talk to on a regular basis and that you know and you can interact with and like it sounds stupid, but even like playing Warzone or like a multiplayer game where there's four of us, like you know when Stacks, the Squirrel, and Hefe and I are somebody, and we're all playing together. That's as close as I come to being hanging out with the boys as I can because I don't
Yeah.
have that, right? And I don't have a lot of civilian friends because it's hard to have civilian friends because it's just not a lot like their lives and mine. It's like, oh, I don't give a shit about whatever that thing is you're concerned about. Like I don't even know what that is, you know. And
Yeah.
and they're like, well, okay. And I'm like, I'm sorry, football, yay, or you know. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just don't have I don't have an interest in certain things, or you know, their quest is to always try to be like what we did, you know, like that's
Yeah.
their let me pretend or live out the dream of doing that. And I'm like, I already did
Yeah.
it, man. Like I have nothing else to like aspire to as
I've
far
got
as
the
that.
wardrobe. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I already got the award.
The,
I'm done, man.
oh
As
yeah.
far as badass achievements, I don't have to do that anymore. So
Yeah.
it's
I've got mine lined up. Yeah.
it's hard in some ways because there's a lot of people out there just trying to like prove their worth still, right?
Yeah.
And to some sense we all have it a little bit, but like
Yeah.
I
I
don't
feel that.
I don't feel the need to do it as much, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes I find it just frustrating or tiring of like it's
Mm-hmm.
always everybody's trying to one up. I'm like, guys, I don't give a shit, man. Like you're
Yeah.
pretending to do this and
I've done it.
we've done it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We've done it. We've lived through it. We've seen it. We've got the t-shirt.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so that's been my struggle with like making friends outside the military or people who I don't have a similar kind of, you know, the ones that are similar to it though are going to be like a lot of your EMT type people, you
Yeah.
know, first responders. They tend
Yeah.
to, or people who deal with like trauma in that regard a lot. Cops,
Yeah.
unfortunately, tend to be a very it's an
Hit and
ego
miss, I think.
thing. Like it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
Like you'll meet some really cool ones that just get it, or you'll meet the ones that are always like trying to prove that they're more badass than the military. And I'm like,
They've got the
you will
power. Yeah.
never ever be more badass, like ever. Like I'm not diminishing cops at all.
No. No. No.
You guys have a tough fucking job, and I would never want to fucking
No.
do it. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you go through the same fucking trauma in a lot of ways, but it's different. It's not the same. And it's just like military police versus combat troops are very different. You can argue and say you are, but you're not. Okay, I promise you, you're not.
Yeah.
And so that I don't know. It's just hard. So again, you know, it's just me bitching about that. But I do enjoy having, you know, people that you can hang out with. I just do wish that you could somehow relive those days though of
Oh, yeah.
having a core group of people that either live in your same neighborhood or you guys see each other every weekend. You know what I mean? Like having
Yeah.
that squad, that team environment
Mm-hmm. That unit.
recreated that you could live in every day. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
have problems at work or you have problems with your family or your relationships or whatever, that is your core safety net, right? Those are your people who pick you back up, dust you off, get you a new
Hmm.
change of clothes, change the oil, and send you back out on your merry way. And then you just
Yeah.
keep doing it until the day one of you croaks. You know,
Hmm.
like that that is what I keep searching for and can't find. You know, it's like a person
Yeah.
lost in the desert trying to find something. And that is what you get, like that FOMO feeling, right? Like you're missing out because all the civilian people have that, right? Like a lot of civilian people have like friends they grew up with, they have network, you know what I mean? There's like people that they go do stuff with. And
Yeah.
vets a lot of times don't. We just don't because all our friends live geographically far away from us, or they're
Yeah.
dead, or you know they've got different lives now. They're married, or you know some of them are alcoholics or do drugs, or
Oh,
some people just
yeah,
can't.
I know. I.
So that's the thing is that that's the hard part that like I'm at the point where that's the stuff I struggle with. I don't struggle so much with like the PTSD stuff as much. It's the other piece of it.
Yeah.
What's up, Sammy the Samurai? Thanks for following, and thank you, Squirrel, for the raid, buddy. But yeah, I don't know. Do you feel that way? Chat, do you guys feel that way? Am I just a crazy person yet again?
I mean, I for sure feel like that. I'm definitely behind you on that, Chuck. I mean, yeah, 100%.
It's and I don't know the answer, right? Because there's just factors of life that happen, right? Like geographically, we're all spread to the four winds, and there's no possible way that you're all gonna have like a neighborhood made up of people that you know. You know, like there's Elephant's house and there's Squirrel's house and there's Chuck's house and there's Stack's house and we all live in the same subdivision, right? Or the same
Oh yeah,
apartment complex. We all have just
yeah.
a we have a GBM and Elephant Army barracks and we all just live in it together. You know what I mean?
That's what we need. That
You
we need
know,
the stampede. We
well,
need the GBN together, man. That's
S-
what we need.
Squirrel was laughing, making fun of it, but he brought up a good point. You know how like people on TikTok and stuff make the TikTok house?
Oh yeah,
That would be, guys. Do you
yeah,
know how
yeah.
amazing? We like buy a house, like we buy a mountain chalet, right? We find that old. You
Mhm.
know what? We could get that hotel from The Shining, right? We all get that
Oh
hotel
yeah,
from The
yeah,
Shining. I'm
yeah,
sure we
yeah.
could buy it for cheap. We turn that into
Yeah.
like the GBM Elephant Army fucking
Oh yeah.
base, and we all just go live up there and live in anarchy until we all just die of old age or something
Yeah.
ridiculous, you know?
No, just crack it. Oh
Like,
man,
dude,
yeah.
that
Let's
would
do it.
be,
Let's do it.
you know, I joke about that, but that literally the GBM TikTok house is what we laugh about and we joke about. But like that would be the dream come true for me. And you just bring in all the people in your life that you want to be surrounded by and
Yeah.
interact with,
Oh yeah.
you know, and like you would have your own you could do your own thing whenever you want to, but like to have a literal physical network where I could just go to the other end of the neighborhood or the block or the town and hang
Yeah.
out with a group, you know, or like just literally shoot up a thing and be like, "Hey guys, who wants to hang out on Friday?" And then like
Yeah.
16 people just, you know, you have an army of people,
Yeah.
or you
Oh
have
yeah.
having a support network where you literally go, "Man, I'm bummed," and then like
Mhm.
14 people all of a sudden go, "Hey man, let's go," or they just kick in your door and they're like, "We're leaving, let's go."
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, like having that because that's what you had. Like
Mhm.
that's what you had in the military, and that's what's the saddest thing that you lose is
That's the thing you
that
miss.
level of camaraderie of like,
Mhm.
hey, guess what, you sad little motherfucker? We're gonna take you out, and you're gonna be not sad now. So you have a choice. Do you want to get drunk or do you want to go see strippers? It's your choice.
Yeah.
You know, like that. Like I have literally, I'll tell you, I have had friends carry me over their shoulder into strip clubs before to get me
Yeah.
out of a funk. Like I
Yeah.
was literally bummed out and I didn't want to be doing anything, and they physically picked me up, threw me over their shoulder, and carried me in and made me sit
Yeah.
down. Like
Mhm.
that level of support is the best thing on the earth. It is the greatest thing ever, you know, and I am I will be damned if I don't find a way to recreate that. And we've got
Yeah.
Elephant Army and we've got GBM going and it's
Mhm.
growing and it's doing great. But I
Yeah.
don't want to stop there. Like my
Oh no.
goal, the end goal is the GBM Elephant Army TikTok house. Okay?
Hell
We're going
yeah.
to fucking
Hell yeah.
find a way. We're going to buy a fucking island if we have to. And we're going to
Oh yeah.
take in all the lost souls and all the bummed
Yeah.
out people and everybody with
Mhm.
all of our fucking issues. And we're going to all just go fucking hang out. And we'll call it
Go
Paradise
go
Island.
fucking A. Yeah. Go fucking A. That's what we wanna do.
and we'll have places to shoot stuff and blow stuff up and drive
Yep.
cars and
Yep.
we'll do. I mean, it's
Go
literally
big.
going to be just fantasy island, man. It's just going to be
Oh yeah.
fucking everything, and you're going to go in there and basically you're going to have to leave your bummed outness and your depression at the
At the
door.
door.
Leave it
Yep.
at the fucking door. You can pick it up if you want to on the way out. I don't recommend it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on in, and then it's just going to be, it's going to be the passages Malibu of the mind,
Yeah.
right? It's just going to
Oh.
be healing, right? Like, and that's something like that is what I want so badly, and truthfully, the beginning phases of it is once COVID lets us all live normal lives again, we all need
Yeah.
to figure out a way to have some kind of group vacation or something.
Oh
We
yeah.
all just go somewhere, wherever the fuck it is. It could be an island in the Pacific for all I care. But
Yeah.
we
Could
all
be the
just,
Pacific for all I care.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could all get on a cruise ship, right? And
Yeah.
just maybe not cruise ship because they tend to go
Too much.
south, but maybe something a little bit more stable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But that's
Oh
my
yeah.
thing is
Oh,
that I have a dream, and I know you have a dream, and a lot of us have a dream. But like working together to build the mentality, and it's the point of like GBM and the Elephant Army and all that stuff is it's something bigger than yourself because it's something to create a sanctuary, right? And like that's the point of this, and I like that's why I want to start this veteran thing, this podcast
yeah.
too. Is just that it's a sanctuary. Like, yeah, I get it that everything outside these walls right now sucks, and that life is hard, and you deal with depression and all the other stuff. But you can leave that shit at the door for a little while. Like, come in here, take off your gear, and just sit, and we'll just fucking shoot the shit and talk and hang out
Just relax.
and relax because this is a place where you can be safe for once. Now, what happens outside of here, we'll help you with, and we'll get you through it. But when you're here, you're inside the wire. You're safe, right? You don't have to worry about that shit. Let your worries and your burdens go away, right?
We've
And let's
got
just have we fucking got you. And so that's why check out again Human Elephant. Check out his Discord and with the Elephant Army, and Elephant. You're more than welcome to toss a link in somewhere if you want to. And then also for anybody outside of the family, Grumpy Bear Media, that is another group that we've got going, and we've got the same mission of just like bring us your huddled masses, bring us your lost souls, those that are hurting. Just that's what we're here for. That's what we're trying to create. If you're a vet, we welcome you with
yeah.
open arms. You're not going to be called crazy here. Well, you might get called crazy, but it's going to be out of love. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right,
For sure.
but that's the thing, and like that's what's so hard is because I do see groups out there that are trying to help, but they become these very clicky PC. I only want to talk about my feelings, but only on this level, and
Yeah.
don't like. Let's just cut through the crap. Let's just be normal fucking people. We've all got fucking
Mhm.
problems. We're
Yep.
all dealing with them, but let's deal with them together because it's easier to deal with them as a group than as an individual, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. Like just with Squirrel and I talking about stuff yesterday, we found out we have lived very fucking similar lives. Like
Mhm.
very, very, like almost weirdly identical lives.
Mhm.
An elephant. You and I have got some very similar shit, and it's like
Yeah.
you sit there and there's times in my life where I felt like I was the only fucking one and I was alone in the dark and nobody understands me and nobody gets it. And we just
Yeah.
proved in less than 48 hours there are 3 fucking people on this earth that have basically lived the same fucking life.
Yeah.
And so to those outside of this or those that may watch this later or those that tune in the future,
Mhm.
that's the message. You're not alone. And there are
No.
people who understand you and fucking get it. Sometimes you don't even have to say it and we understand.
Yeah.
And
We
like
can
that's
just
the
say.
beauty of this and why I love all of you guys because you're amazing. Like Elephant and
Mm.
Squirrel and Stacks and everybody that's in the
Yeah.
group is there are things and ways that we communicate that we don't have to use words for because we
Yeah.
understand. What's up, Stacks? I swear I say your name and
Oh.
you popped up. That was kind of freaky. But I
Say it
love you
3
guys.
times. Right.
I didn't even have to say it 3 times. I just said it once. that's
I've
effective.
spoken it more than once.
But like that's the point of this. And the other thing is too, guys, that and girls, and what I want everybody to understand is that you're gonna have bad days.
Yeah.
You're gonna have days where you slip into depression. You're gonna have days where you're gonna be in quicksand. You're gonna have
Mhm.
days you're fucking in it right now. right? If you're in it right now and you fucking know you're in it, that's fine. And that is
Yeah.
human and that is fucking normal,
Mm-hmm.
right? But no, you're not alone and it is okay to reach out. And sometimes you don't even have to reach out, okay? We'll be there and we're going to keep a watch and we're going to help. But
Mm-hmm.
please, please, I'm begging you, as someone who has been on the other side of the quicksand and is looking
Yeah.
back at myself in the quicksand in the past, don't be like me and reach out and let someone help you. Let someone take a little bit of your burden. I'm not saying you have to take all of it and dump it on somebody, but take a little bit. It's like Elephant's example of the bottle. Don't let
Yeah.
that stuff fill up and overflow and then the bottle breaks and then you're fucked. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Pour some out. Pour some out. There are people lining up to add some weight on their shoulders for you. We're not doing it to get something. We're not doing it because you're going to owe us one. We're doing it because we care about you and we love you, right? And for all of those that we don't know, trust me, we love you too. Okay, we love all of you. That's why. Elephant's heart
Oh,
is like 14 sizes too big. All right, mine's like right behind him. It gets a little grinchy sometimes, but for the most part.
that's how it goes.
But
Elephant's always got the bigger
yeah,
heart.
he's oversized. It's jumbo. Okay, that's just how it works.
Well,
Okay.
hey, well, I got so much
Listen,
love. That's why.
grizzly bears are smaller animals, thus the heart is a little bit smaller, but it's still very big. Okay.
You can't be fat. You can't be fat. Because it's not where the below the ground was. You can't be fat.
Yeah, you have elephantitis at the heart.
Thanks. Don't help, Snack. Don't help.
I am not an animal. Anyway, that's a that's an Elephant Man quote. If anybody wanted to know, I hope somebody out there appreciated that.
I got you. I got you. That's my daddy.
Oh my god. But yeah. So again, guys, I love the ability to laugh and to have fun and do all this stuff too. But even on the
Yeah, all right.
serious side as well, just you're not alone. You're never
No.
alone. You're never fucking alone. Like even when you're in the dark and it seems like nobody's there, there's always somebody fucking watching, and there's always somebody right there to help you. Just it's probably going to be the last place you looked. But please, I'm begging all of you. If you're in the military, you're not in the military, if you have anything going on, if you're not in a perfect place, please, if you need help, just reach out. That's it. Don't feel bad about it. We'll punch you. If somebody gives you shit, we'll go find them and punch them in the face. We've got people all over the globe. We'll go Liam Neeson on it. we've got we've got some professional ass kickers all around here. We'll be fine.
We're trained, man. We're trained.
We're highly trained for this. That's what we did. So it's just too easy. Yeah, Stax is literally just waiting to punch somebody in the face. So he's on call. Resident face puncher. Stax, I think you just need to sign up for MMA. If Evolution MMA is still there in Tacoma, I would highly recommend joining up.
Stacks, if you want an MMA training partner, I'm down. I love MMA myself.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I need a place to train is the problem.
Yeah,
But
don't want the fish.
don't want the vid. Okay, fine. We'll figure out a way.
That's fine.
But yeah. Well, chat or Elephant or anybody that's tuned in, anything else you guys want to talk about? I know some people tuned in a little bit later. We've been all over the map for this, and we've actually been at this for almost 2.5 hours, which is way longer than I thought we would be able to talk about. But it's
I have
good.
to work in 5 minutes. Just quick disclosure.
Okay. Well, Elephant, thank you so much, brother. I'm glad we've finally been able to kind of sit and talk about this because I know
Yeah,
we've been saying we were going to, and something kept coming up.
yeah,
And Squirrel actually and I actually were talking about that last night. So the intent of this is that every Friday I'm gonna try to pull to do this, and it can just be we watch fucking cat videos or we talk about serious shit, whatever it is. But it's just a chance for us to air out whatever is on your mind in a safe place, and then we'll just take it and run with it in the intent of being supportive and kind of getting you back into the fight.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
but brother, I appreciate it so much, and again, it is
Anytime.
just it's it's amazing how you can find people in just the most random fucking ways, and it's just so amazing that we've run into each other, especially we're not even the same country,
Yeah.
and we can have this conversation, and we're at a place where we can have this conversation the way we are right now.
Yeah.
So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so
No,
much.
man. No, thank you, man. I mean, like I said, from day one, you've been there for me. So I mean, anything that I can do, anything that I can do to support, help, whatever, as long as do elephant army stuff. Like I said to you a million times before, sure. As much as I'm doing my own stuff and I've got my elephant army, GBM is my family, and whatever GBM does, that is my priority. My thing comes second because at the end of the day, this is pushing me up. My elephant army is just a little something to keep me going the extra mile. That's it. But
Well,
GBM is my heart, is definitely my heart and my soul.
well,
110%.
we're here to support you, man. So we
Sure.
if here's the thing, it's kind of like we're all running a race, but the reality is, if one of us wins, then we all win. So
Yeah.
it's really not about who wins. It's just getting somebody there. So
Just get
let's help everybody we can. Let's be supportive as we can. Let's pull in new people. Get let's shake out, everywhere we can and find those people out there that are hurting and that need us, because they're fucking out there and they're hurting and they're in the dark right now. And we got to get out there and we got to find them. And it's not going to be as simple as they come to us. So we got to get out there and go to them. So
Mhm.
any way that we can help, and if I can help with the Elephant Army, if I can help in any other way with anybody else's shit too, please let me know. And I apologize in advance for all the cussing. It just comes second nature. But
It's no, it's real life.
but yeah,
Blood, blood man. Fuck it.
fuck it.
Fuck it all.
Fuck you, Susie, the 3-year-old. No, I'm kidding. We love you, Susie. One day you'll understand. But all right, well, Elephant, you need to roll, brother. I'm sorry that you did not sleep at all tonight.
Nah, man, it's
Yeah,
fine.
so this is in case you guys didn't notice, I've got some Grumpy Bear swag. So I got the Grumpy Bear hat. I've got the old Grumpy Bear hoodie going on. It's pretty legit. Streamlabs has got some neat merch. So some little self promo. I know Elephant's got a kicking
I mean,
jacket there.
I, wa- I want a hat and a jacket like now, man. I've got my own jacket at school. I want a GBM jacket now.
Well, let me put the stuff together for the logo, because we've got the new logo that Papa Bear did, which looks fucking amazing. Huge
Oh
shout out
yeah.
to Papa Bear, awesome job. But yeah, let me put some stuff on there for GBM because I want some too for the actual Grumpy Bear Media new logo. But
Oh yeah.
just FYI, it's out there. I'm working on it. So I'm trying to get, like I said, the goal is the GBM Elephant Army TikTok house. So that's the objective, right? We all have a goal to work towards. There's going to be a bunch of mini goals in there, but
Yeah.
the ultimate goal is the GBM TikTok house. It's even better if it was in the house with the Shining, the Shining
Yeah.
Hotel. If we can pull that off, that'd be fucking great.
That'd be one and done.
But all right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Elephant, you are fucking amazing.
Anytime.
Yep,
Anytime, bro.
we will definitely have a building in the back called the Stack Shack.
All content creators wear their own merch. I
I,
agree with
I
it.
mean, I like it though. I mean, honestly, I needed a hat and a hoodie, so it's freaking great.
I've got my own merch, so I mean, I'm happy to do that. You know, Elephant Arm's got my own merch. I'm good.
I'm gonna start sticker. There's some stickers. I'm just gonna start sticking them on shit. I'm gonna like graffiti people.
I've got stickers.
Like I'm
My
gonna go to the
first
mall parking lot and just start Grumpy Bear Media stickering everybody's
yeah,
car.
on style. Yeah.
The link to the merch is on the. Just go to grumpybearmedia.com, I think. But yeah, we'll keep going this. And like I said, every Friday, starting at like 9, we'll try to do vet talk and just see where it goes from there. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. If anybody from GBM or anybody wants to play some games online, I'm going to switch off and go play if you guys want to. Um, And then Elephant, I wish you the absolute best fucking day that you've ever had today. Hopefully, it's fucking
You,
awesome.
you, you.
I don't know yet, Stacks. Maybe whatever you're playing, I guess. But anyway, so that being said, if you're watching this on YouTube later, remember like and subscribe for more content like this. For everybody else that watches this later or tunes in, um, remember Vet Talk every Friday starting at 9, and we'll build it out from there and see where it goes. So thanks everybody, and I will cap you on the flip side. Stay tuned for some mental health resources real quick though.